Uh-oh. You're gone.
Oh no.
Oh, there you are. There you are.
This is gone too. All right. There we go. Ah, this is Big D and Shane for TacoYaki Anime.
Yo.
And we are back for another episode of Monthly Ketchup.
Mm-hmm.
Today we'll be talking about our final thoughts on the fall season of 2018.
Indeed.
And let's make sure everything's working.
Agreed. It's gonna be working. New setups, people. Sorry.
All right.
Wait. Other way. Other way. Just a tad.
So I think.
Are we all here? Is everyone good?
Could you check the audio? Because for some reason the thing is being seen.
You're pretty low. Say something.
Hello.
Yeah, I'm like way louder than you are.
Yeah. I could go to the webcam mic again, but then that gets blown out really easily. Let's try it to see if it's better. Skype keeps changing the way they have everything set up. And they're like, oh, now the thing's over here.
Over here, over there.
Oh, okay, I see. Oh, well, it's automatically adjusting. So what about this? Because it was automatically adjusting the volume?
Yeah, I think you're pretty decent there.
Okay.
Yeah, about the same as my volume now, so I think that should work.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Skype, for pre-adjusting crap.
That's what Skype's good for.
And
Now I can mute the stream so I don't have to hear myself twice.
yes, speech jamming. Man. All right.
Well, we're ready.
So, we got 5 shows today. And the first show we're going to be talking about is Goblin Slayer.
Oh, yes. Goblin Slayer. Okay, so first off, I will have to say I was quite upset by the fact that on episode 11, I think it was 11. Yeah, essentially it was 11. They called it 10.5. Why did they call it 10.5? Because they did a recap. 10 episodes. I hate when someone does a recap 10 episodes into your freaking... No, do a recap if you're like... If you have like a 50 episode thing and you're like 24 episodes in and there's something important coming up that had from the previous one, then do a recap. Hi. You can get out. I'm okay with that. But don't do it 10 episodes in. That's horrible. I mean, that shows a distinct lack of content, essentially. And I can't agree with that. But on a whole, I think that Goblin Slayer was an excellent fantasy anime. It hit all the parts that I think it needed to really make sure that it did the whole fantasy genre kind of thing. And it was just a fun experience all around.
Uh-huh.
Oops. Hey, I'm the one with cats. That should not happen to you. That should happen to me. But yeah, no, it was a fun experience all around. Action was outstanding. They really made the fights feel visceral and very realistic. Um, even to the point where, he's the main hero in all Goblin Slayer, but he still had problems dealing with the last guy that he dealt with. I won't go too much into that, but I mean, to me, all the characters were great. They each had their own personality. They each stood out in their own way, which was great. Um, the fact that you, even at the very end, did not see Goblin Slayer's face, I think was great. I know some people were like, "No, can't I see his face?" And I'm like, I don't want to see his face because that's his shtick, that's his thing. I don't want to see his face. I prefer to have just that mystery behind it, and it goes along with the fact that each of these characters never really got a name. They never really had a name. You had Priest Girl, you had the elf, you had the dwarf, you had the lizard man. None of these people had names simply because you're supposed to put yourself in their place. This is you. You're supposed to feel this, you're supposed to get this. And to me, I thought they did that very well.
Okay.
I mean, because in the end, this was what essentially was a D&D campaign. This was a D&D game, and you got to live a part of it, which I think is amazing. I'm surprised more people with the content that is out there, because I know there's like a YouTube channel that does D&D campaigns and is really popular. And I also know that there's and they even animate some of their things. I was surprised considering that this wasn't even more popular than it was. I mean, it was still really popular, but I think they could have done it should have been just blown the hell up, I think. Um, but yeah, in general, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was amazing. I thought it was done very well, and I cannot wait for a second season. And they kind of left it on that second part, on the very end of it, saying, "Stay tuned for more Goblin Slayer." So there's gonna be more.
Ah, nice.
There's gonna be more, and I am super stoked to see that.
Okay.
I think that's gonna be amazing. And even just talking about the characters, even the characters like the priest girl in the very beginning. In the very beginning, the priest girl was very much. I mean, she didn't do much. She was very inexperienced, and that's what they wanted you to see. She was just starting off as an adventurer. Um, and she in the beginning she had to be rescued by Goblin Slayer. But at the end of the last episode, she was an integral part in actually taking down the final boss.
Mm-hmm.
And it was great too because not only was she an integral part, it showed she didn't have to be. It's not like Goblin Slayer said, "Okay, this is what you need to do," and it was like pretty much handed to her. No, she kind of had to work for it, and she had to think for herself. So it showcased the fact that she actually grew as a character,
Yeah,
which I
I
think is
noticed.
great.
Yeah, I know a lot of the time. I'm like halfway through,
Mhm.
and I ran out of time. But for the half that I saw, I know that a lot of the time he wouldn't really like explain things. Like he would explain some things to her if she asked, but then
Mhm.
he wouldn't like completely train her. He's like, this happens when this happens, and this happens when that happens, and then it's
Mhm.
like we're gonna go, and she would figure it out on the way.
And even, I mean, okay, so any Goblin Slayer is a pretty one-dimensional character. He's very abstract in his own way and doesn't really say much or do much. A lot of the time, he's kind of like, except when it's like the fighting starts, and then all of a sudden he's like Batman with
Yeah.
like how much he knows and how much he does, which I'm totally okay with. I'm totally fine with. Um, but even him at the very end, he he grew. It's not say that there wouldn't have been room for improvement because when you have a one-dimensional character like that, any improvement is noticeable improvement and is great improvement. Um, But the fact that, like, in the end, he opened up to all of his team. He actually takes off his helmet. You don't see it his face, but he actually takes off his helmet, and everyone's like freaks out, like, "Oh my god, he took his helmet off!" But that was like one of the priest girls, like, what her quote unquote reward for what she did to help him and everything was to do that. So, which was cool. But yeah, just in all things, I mean, and even at one point when he puts his life on the line and the priestess, saves him and heals him, and she's like, why do you, I told you not to be reckless. I told you not to do something like that. And he's like, but I trust you. And I think that's like a monumental thing for somebody like him to go like, I trust you, because he trusts nobody.
Yeah.
He trusts nobody. And that's very obvious from the first couple episodes that you watch. He just doesn't trust anyone, which is why he's always a solo person, which is why he, doesn't, no one ever asks him for help or anything, because he doesn't want to. It's always just like, he doesn't want to put himself out there, but the relationships that he develops with his team and especially the priest girl really bring that out in him, I think. So all in all, great fantasy anime. I think anyone who even has like an inkling of liking fantasy anime, especially with how robust and just dark and just gritty and in your face as in a lot of those animes right now that have not done that, I feel like this is just an amazing start, and I hope to see a trend starting with this.
Okay.
So
yeah, I kind of wanted to go over like the section thing. You kind of answered most of it already. So first question we usually ask is, would you recommend this show? And I can tell definitely that you recommend it.
Even to those who are only like sort of interested in fantasy and you're kind of on the fence, I'd still recommend it.
Yeah, actually, I liked how this show wasn't really hand-holdy. It was like, here you go, fantasy. Demons are bad. Goblins are bad. Watch out.
And then you just get whisked along the way, basically.
Yeah. So this was actually one that held my attention as I finished about half of it. The only reason why I didn't is because I ran out of time. But yeah, I would definitely recommend the show for fantasy lovers because it's one of the fantasy shows that I actually am interested in. So I'm pretty sure someone who loves fantasy, similar to you, that I'm pretty sure they would like it too. Who is this show for? Yeah, people who like fantasy and people who are interested in fantasy because it's a really good.
And even I think even those that are kind of more into like the dark, more realism in their anime, even though this is fantasy, it has so much realism put into it. It just makes it that much better. And I think those would appreciate those who are actually kind of like that dark, gritty, realistic kind of thing.
Okay. So did it meet your expectations from when we first went over the synopsis?
Yes. Honestly, it blew away my expectations.
Okay.
Because originally, I think I had like this, because we originally read the synopsis and they were like talking about a priestess and a cowgirl, and I'm like, cowgirl, what the hell? And the fact that he's Goblin Slayer and all they showed were goblins, I'm like, really? How are you going to make a show just based upon goblins?
Mm-hmm.
And even though they diverged just a little bit every now and then, for the most part, they stuck true with that, and it still was absolutely enthralling and amazing. So that totally blew my expectations away.
Cool. Who's your favorite character?
Ooh, favorite character. That's a tough one.
I'm on the fence between the elf and Goblin Slayer.
See, and I'm kind of on the fence between elf, Goblin Slayer, and the dwarf.
Yeah, the dwarf is cool.
Because the dwarf's dynamic with the elf and they're kind of bickering back and forth with each other kind of like the way they did in Lord of the Rings. I just absolutely loved that dynamic between the two of them. And even then, even though they had that bickering that goes on between the two of them, they would still every now and then, when a hard moment would come up, they would drop it and they would team up.
Yeah.
And it was those good moments like that that I was like, all right, you bicker with each other, but you still like to hang. You when push comes to shove, you'll back each other up, which is awesome.
Yeah. And then even during the fights, I think like if the elf will miss a shot, and he's like, "Hey, did them ears get in your way?"
basically, yeah.
So you can tell they're really close.
So I mean, yeah, I like that dynamic. But I also liked. I guess I have to give it to Goblin Slayer, honestly. I like the dynamic that those two had, but Goblin Slayer, even though he was a one-dimensional character for the longest time, and only started coming out of his shell toward the end, just because it was like, okay, one of my favorite like actual real life action movies and stuff like that is like Bond, Batman, stuff like that, and he kind of embodied that to me. You know what I mean? Because he was like, he knew, but see, it wasn't the fact that it was like Bond, where it's like, oh, he gave you a gadget, and now miraculously this gadget's going to come in handy. No, it was a matter of he could kind of guess what was going to happen, and then he would prepare.
Yeah.
And it was that preparation, and it was funny too because a lot of times no one would he wouldn't tell anyone until it was just all of a sudden upon them, and he was like, "Oh, hey, here, take this coal, wrap it around your face with this cloth, and any herbs you might have on you, so that way you don't get killed by this poisonous gas or something like that." But it was because he knew, oh wait, we're down in this dungeon-esque area. What do we have to worry about that goblins might use?
Yeah.
Potentially poisonous gas. Okay, that's an inch. Let's prepare for that. So I like that idea, and I like the way they did that. So if I had to say for character-wise, it's tough, but I probably would have to give it to Goblin Slayer.
Okay. Yeah, I know that I did see that from the half that I saw, because I think when they went into one of those dungeons, he kind of asked like, "How big is the how big is the area that we're going into?" And they're like, "Oh, it's a big thing like this." And he's like, "Oh, you can you can't really see it on his face. You can't see his face, but he'd like pause. And you could tell that he's like preparing."
Yep.
Right away.
He's already thinking like, what is it that I have to be worried about? What can they potentially do to me, kind of thing. So yeah, no, all in all, intriguing story. I love the characters, and I think it was just an amazing change to fantasy animes that we haven't seen in a long while. To me, I haven't seen something like this since the original Berserk.
Okay.
And that would probably be I mean, it's not even quite like that, but it's close enough that I could say that's the only thing I could potentially cross-reference between the two.
Okay. What is your favorite part of the series?
Favorite part of the series?
I'm trying not to get this show and Slime mixed up, because they're almost the same. They're like very similar. Yeah. But I was like, oh yeah, the goblin with the muscles. I'm like, no, that wasn't this show.
I would say my favorite part happened. Well, I mean, I don't want to go too much into it because I want you to finish this one. But it happened to be towards the end. The big battle sequence that they end up having, I think they did an amazing job. You get the feels from it because he kind of has to pull some strings with the guild and get the whole guild in on this last battle, just because of how massive it is. Okay. And then the planning that goes into it from him is just it showcases just like what I was saying. His like, okay, I know that potentially these goblins are going to be involved. If these goblins are involved, this, and this is going to happen. So let's prepare for that. And everything just went beautifully from that. And I think that whole battle sequence with that and what they did was just outstanding. So,
I don't, because I haven't seen the whole thing yet. I kind of want to say that because, and also basically because this is a fantasy series, for it to pull me in, it has to do something different than other fantasy shows. And I want to say I don't have a favorite part yet because there's another show that's similar to it, and I'm getting them mixed up. So there's a few things that aren't strong enough to stand on its own, other than how dark it could get. Like, the first episode shocked me a lot, and I'm not sure if it gets as dark as it did before. But for a show to surprise me like that, I'd say that's one of my favorite aspects about this show, even though it is a really dark and not cool subject that it went to. But for it to go there is one of the highlights.
And I think go there in such a way that it wasn't doing it for the shock value of it, but it was something that actually made sense when you actually stopped and thought about it.
Yeah.
I think that's what really gets me on that. So
yeah, I will finish this show and see. They haven't even said, like, they aren't like My Hero Academia, where they're like, see you next summer, right? They were just like,
yeah, no, they're just like, more Goblin Slayer coming soon. So
okay.
I'm hoping that means sometime next year, maybe summer of next year. I don't know. We'll see. I think it did well enough. I think it could have done better as far as reception of it goes, and I think it might do better later on. But I think it did well enough that it warrants and is more than likely going to get a second season sooner rather than later, I would think.
Yeah, I feel like it got enough attention, and then for the people that it got their attention, it was good enough to I'm pretty sure, get a lot of people to keep talking about it. So, because I know I've seen a few other people make videos about this show. So I think at least over here, or at least on YouTube, that it's a show that has people's attention. So,
granted,
I feel like that makes it popular enough to keep going.
Yeah.
But yeah, Goblin Slayer, great show. Definitely check it out. The next show we're going to be talking about is Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai.
Yes. Now, I watched 4 episodes of that, I think. So, did they finish it right now, or is it still going?
It's finished.
It's finished? Okay.
Yeah. So I'm curious about what you think about it, because it's a slice of life show, and
It is. It's a slice of life show. I think it kind of got me a little bit just because of the uniqueness of the situations that they find themselves in. And a lot of those times, because I've already, in situations you can kind of put yourself into and think about, oh, would I do this? Or would I do something different? Or how would I approach this? But this gave me a new set of thought processes to be able to think, what would I do in this situation? Where would I go? What would I do? How would I try to combat this? So basically, the only thing I've gotten to is him solving her problem, the bunny girl, as far as being seen, I guess. And then I started the next episode where they're kind of being lovey-dovey with each other, kind of thing. I don't know. It's intriguing to a point, and I think that it's got its humorous little moments in there, which I appreciate. But at the same time, I think they kind of cop out in that regards to that. Because, like, him solving her problem by pretty much announcing to the school in the middle of a test that he loved her, I'm like, Really? We're gonna go with the power of love conquers all? Is that what we're doing here? Is that what we're doing here? Really? Um, so that kind of got me, and I'm like, come on, we could do better than that. You could expand on that. You could do more with that. Why are we just ending it like that? That just seems a cop out to me. So, I'm not sure how the other problems go because I'm sure at least one of the problems they're gonna have to combat is his sisters, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, and her. See, they build up this wonderful idea, but I feel like the resolution they just don't have it. And I don't know if they do that with the sister as well, but um, because it's like with the girl that he likes and everything, her not being able to be recognized or people see her, I'm like, that's an interesting take. And the fact that he went to sleep and then forgot about her, I'm like, wow, that is something else. Okay, I'm with you on this. I'm with you. Um, and then his sister being cut every time basically she hears something negative in regards. She gets like beat up essentially, and I'm like, that's freaky. Okay, yeah, no, I could totally see why you would pretty much get yourself away from everything and everyone, never watch or get on media or stuff like that, and I totally get that, totally get that, you know. And then his whole thing was like him wanting to stay up, um, for as late as he did, and using the excuse of a test, but the fact that he was doing it because he didn't want to go to sleep, so he wouldn't forget about her. I'm like, you know what? I'd probably do the same thing. I would
Yeah.
probably do this. I would try to force myself as much as possible to stay awake in the hopes that I did not forget about it. Totally would do that. I totally see that. But in that end part, I'm like, okay, come on, really?
Mhm.
Did y'all just run out of ideas? Did y'all just go, okay, we've written? Because to me, it seems like sloppy writing. It's like you wrote yourself into a corner, and then you're using one of the typical tropes to pull yourself out of it. And then you're just gonna say because reasons.
So when they were talking about that, because a lot of times, whenever he comes across an issue of the
Mm,
whole syndrome that happens, he talks to that girl from the science club,
yeah.
and with the regards of um, him not like people not being able to see the girl, they kind of talk about it with like quantum mechanics, where a thing doesn't really exist unless you observe it,
Hmm.
and the
Which
place
I
that
think
you
was awesome. That was totally cool. I was
yeah.
totally down for that.
So with him basically trying to get everybody's attention and talking about a certain person, I feel like that may like for me, I saw that as getting people to observe her so she actually existed.
See, I don't know. To me, it just felt like,
Because I see how I see your side, but then I also see like especially with the theme that's going on with a lot of the students where you have to fit in, you have to find your own group. If you're a loner, it's embarrassing and it's looked down upon. And they're like,
hmm
why is that person by themselves? Are they like, what's wrong with you? Why didn't you have top friends? Kind of thing. Um, I can see why they used part like that aspect of like everybody's attitudes towards each other to kind of, even though a lot of people aren't like, oh, isn't that sweet that he's like confessing to the whole school? A lot of them are like, I'm trying to take a test because I'm studying so I can get into Tokyo U, and you're interrupting the class with your silly girlfriend nonsense. And
yeah.
like a lot of other people are like, ugh, why is he all lovey dovey with her? Like I can see the attention not all being good and not all being, oh, you're so sweet kind of thing. I can also see it like bad attention. Like any attention is good attention. And that's how she kind of like materialized. So
See, but to me, I think because of how it was done and the location of it like that,
yeah.
to me just screamed out just tropes.
Yeah.
Like we're throwing this trope in there,
Yeah.
and this is the reason why we're making it. You
Mhm.
know, had he come to this realization, because okay, granted, they kept mentioning the fact that the school was the focal point of all this kind of things going on and whatnot, but the fact that it had spread to not just the school and it was beyond the school,
Yeah.
to me, if he would have gone out, let's say, in front of that, what is that stereotypical the place with that you always see in Tokyo or something like that, with all the crosswalks and all the people and
Oh
everything.
yeah.
If he'd have gone out in the center of that
Like
and
started blocking
basically
traffic and all that kind of
blocking
stuff.
traffic and screamed out and confessed his love like that, I'd have been like, okay, I'm with you. Because that had been different. That had been
Yeah.
something unique, something done beyond what we would normally see.
Yeah, because even like stuff like that would be on the news, and stuff that's
Exactly.
on the news would also get to the school. So
Exactly.
I can see how
And
choosing that location. Yeah, yeah.
it would have been, because they don't say that it has to be a school. They just said that's a focal point.
Yeah.
That's a focal point. So if he'd have done it, if your idea is you want to get as much attention on her as humanly possible, doing something like that, that'd have been the best way.
Okay.
That to me would have been the best way. Because
I get
you're not gonna tell me just because he did that at school, now all of a sudden everyone everywhere that wasn't noticing her will now notice her. Really? That seems a little bit too much.
Yeah, I feel like if because they went on that trip and went to another city, if
Mhm.
everybody recognized her outside of the city, and then she's like, "Well, I just can't be in my home city," then that doing it at the school will kind of fix that hole.
Exactly.
But okay, I
But
get.
the fact
Okay,
that
I get. I like that.
he went other places and everything, and people still didn't recognize her or couldn't see her, I'm like, okay, we're not talking about a local issue here. We're talking about a global issue here. And I get you wanted to add the tension in there for that. Great. Absolutely. But then in my mind, just doing it at a local level at a school would not have fixed it. You know? To me, that's why I'm like, okay, you copped out. You're like, oh, we want him to have his romantic little rendezvous and do the embarrassing thing of announcing to the school that he loves her. Okay, fine. Then don't have your syndrome thing be affecting people outside that area then.
Yeah.
Have it just be affecting the school area. Then that makes sense. So
Yeah.
I'm just asking for some continuity here. You know what I mean?
Oh
I'm just
yeah,
asking
yeah,
for
and
some like,
I like your take on it. So yeah, I
you know,
agree.
I don't know what happened with the sister, but I mean, in general, was it some sort of way like that that ended up solving the problem?
There's there's more to it
Okay.
than he's letting on.
Okay.
So um, it I would I'm gonna leave that with my favorite like aspect of the show. But
Okay.
so I'll say would I recommend this show? I would say definitely. It falls in my category of these dramatic anime that have like these somewhat tragic situations happen,
Mm-hmm.
and it it's a struggle to get life back to normal. So um, like Clannad or Canon or Nagano Sakura, Alone in the Sea, like all of these shows where it's regular life and these like tragic situations happen and you like struggle to recover from it. Those are my
Mm-hmm.
favorite types of anime, um, and this is definitely one of those. So if you like shows like those, then you would definitely like this one also. Um, let's say the characters are written really well too. So I would definitely, if you like good characters, I'd say this one's pretty good. Who is this show for? I'd say anybody who likes romances. Because
Romance drama.
yeah, tragedy in there. Did it meet my expectations? 100%. I had no idea what this show was going to be about. I thought it was going to be an ecchi show with boobs and butts and bunny girl suits all over the place. And it completely went in a very serious direction that surprised me.
I like how that's was your expectation going into it, yet you still went into it. Because I know a lot of times you don't like watching those types of things. So
I always take a peek at the first episode to see. I'm like, okay, is this what I think it's? Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna go watch something else. But yeah, this one was great. Who is my favorite character? Oh my god. Okay. The main guy and the main girl were in our like little awards show. So, do I like the girl better or do I like the guy better? I think I like the girl better because it's one of the best written female characters that I've seen in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
To where they're not 100% strong and have the upper hand all the time, and they do show weakness, but they are very strong. To where it's like whenever you see somebody like get the like kind of get them, it's you're like, wow, you are also good.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so I'll tell you the main girl, she is my favorite character. And what is my favorite part of the show? So my favorite part is after a few of the different situations, because basically shows like this, they come up with a premise, and they're like, there's this weird syndrome, and the syndrome affects people in different ways. With the girl, her presence disappears, and basically people start to forget about her, and eventually nobody's going to know who she is, and she's going to disappear. She's going to basically not exist. With the guy, whenever he's stressed out, he ends up getting this giant claw mark across his chest, and one time that happened, and he ended up, well, the first time it happened, he ended up going to the hospital, and rumors started spreading about him going to the hospital and getting to like some kind of bloody fight, and everybody in the school started shunning him. And it wasn't like an ignored type of shunning, like with the girl where he would like disappear. Everybody just like, oh, that's the jerk over there. The sister, I don't remember how it started, but all of a sudden people started bullying her in social media, and because of the bullying, she started getting like physical injuries on her body, and then something happened, and because of that, it affected their parents to where the mother developed a mental illness, and she couldn't deal with the situation of her brother, of the son having this huge gash and being shunned by the school, and then the sister, like, just things are completely messed up. So basically, the main guy and his sister are living alone, and they're trying to like deal with what's going on. Mm-hmm. So it goes from dealing with my situation, it goes to the guy's situation, and it goes to his sister's situation. It fixes all three of them somewhat, and then it starts moving on to people that they know. So like a new girl gets introduced. Another, like, let's see. One of his friends from school gets introduced. Mm-hmm. My sister gets introduced.
You mean his only friend from school? Is it the guy's friend?
Yeah. Oh, so it's the girl, the science girl.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So like she develops an issue. The guy, he's fine. Like he just has a mean girlfriend that's like causing trouble with the main guy. But
he just has a mean girlfriend. Don't worry about that. That's all.
Yeah, he's not disappearing or anything.
That's just normal. That's just normal. We'll leave that alone.
And then it kind of it deals with everybody's situation, and then kind of loops back around and does like a second round with a few different characters. And it's a really, really cool story. A lot of the problems that people started dealing with, it kind of relates to different scientific phenomenon. So like with the girl, how she's disappearing, it said something about Schrodinger's cat. Mm-hmm.
Quantum physics, yeah.
Yeah. Then with I'm not sure what they said with the guy, but with the
sister.
I don't want to spoil it, but there's like a specific turn that happened with her. There's another character that ended up having split personalities.
Oh, those are always fun.
Oh yeah, it's like it's based on split personalities. Like they handle it really really well. That's basically how I'm gonna say. And then there's another one with hallucinations. It's a really cool phenomenons that they put into this story, and like they tie everybody into like together really nicely. And they also did something that I was like, I see what you're doing. So the story's going along, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, they're like, oh, and like turn around and see like a fireworks sign. And they're like, yeah, we should go over to do like that, like we did the other year. And another character comes into this other place wearing the yukata, and for some reason I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's cool. And then later on, a couple episodes later, they end up at the beach doing fireworks.
Mm-hmm.
And then the semester's over, and he wants to take his sister to the beach. And I started thinking about it, and I'm like, wait a minute. This is the beach episode. This is the episode where they talk about swimsuits and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, I see y'all sneaking that in there. And then I'm like, this is the fireworks episode with the festival and like the grilled squid and all that kind of stuff. I see that. And it was kind of cool how they like stuck the regular tropes of anime. Like they like weaved it nicely into the story to where like the beginning of the episode doesn't like just start on the beach and everybody's all like, ooh, swimsuits and all that kind of stuff. Or like they don't start it and it's like a firework into the sky at night and then like all the students like get together and go on the thing. They like take those tropes and like perfectly weave them into the story. And it was cool. I like how they handled that. But yeah, overall, it's just I really like the way that they handled the subjects in this story, and I'm kind of sad that it's over because I really like these characters. So I highly recommend this show. I feel like it may be something that you could because I'm kind of curious, like how you thought. Like I was perfectly okay with how they handled the situation, but now thinking deep, like the presence this situation. And now that you brought that up, I'm like, I'd be really curious to see like what your opinion is on how they handle all the other ones.
Mm-hmm.
But
I don't know. I've seen too many anime and become jaded on that now. when people solve problems in a stereotypical manner, and you look at them going, I saw that on so and so anime. Are you serious? Yeah. Really? Mm-hmm. You have a unique problem. You should have a unique solution. Mm-hmm. So.
Cool. All right. The next show we're going to be talking about is Sword Art Online Alicization.
So, yeah. This one. How much have you watched on this one? Anything? Just one episode?
Yep.
First episode. Okay.
I saw all of season 1 of Index.
And nothing of the current one. Oh, one episode.
I did 2 episodes of Railgun. The first
season.
Yeah. I'm making my way there.
Okay, so what to say about Sword Art? I have such a love-hate relationship with it in so many aspects. There are so many times in it that they do something right, and I'm like, that's cool, that's awesome. And then there are times when I'm like, why did we do that? What was the point in that? So for those who don't know, so basically, I think I had originally made when after watching like the first episode of this, I think when we did our original one on this, I think I only watched the first episode and I made a speculation on what was going to happen.
So, did it meet your expectations?
I was spot on with exactly how things were going to happen. And why it was happening too. So they had this like big reveal already on who the quote unquote bad guy was and why he was doing what he was doing. And I'm like, no, there's that's not really surprising. That's not surprising even in a little bit. I kind of saw where that was going. Mm-hmm. But it's not to say that that's necessarily bad. It's just not. It doesn't have the same impact I think that they were going for. But it's like if you've watched the previous series and kind of know what was going on and why people were trying to do the things that they were trying to do with this VR technology, what's going on in this one? Not really a surprise. It's not exactly the same as what's before, but it's like you could see the progression. And you're like, oh, okay, you were trying to do this, you were trying to do this, and now you just went up to every one of those. So, yep, totally saw that where that was going. So, beyond that, the aspects and what they do, I do enjoy. As a isekai anime, I do believe that they do a pretty good job. And even though Kirito's been through so much in his past, they still balance him. Like he's not, even though he's been through so much, he knows so much, but he's still not. In a lot of the isekais, the people who go into these games or whatever, or these other worlds, are super powerful. And you'd think, after everything Kirito's been through and all the things that he's done in the past, that here again, he would be super powerful. But he's not quite. Because what they did is they said, they're like, okay, even though this is a video game copy of him, unlike the other ones where they had levels, this one doesn't have levels. So they basically started his body at the beginning. But they said, even though you're starting your body at the beginning, you still have knowledge. You still have your experience. So even though he doesn't always have a confirmed grasp on things, or he thinks he can do things and he ends up not being able to, he still has that knowledge to be able to look at it and go, what if I did this? What if I were doing this? And he learns. I think probably one of the things that people don't really understand about the character and they overlook more times than not is that his strongest attribute is not any weapon. It's not any. It's his mind. It's how he perceives things. He immediately grasps what's happening, and then he adapts and he rolls with it. And he's like, okay, I know where I am now. I know kind of what's going on. Let's see what we can do. Let's gain. He's out of all the people I think who get transported into another world, so many of them are like, well, I don't know what's going on, and they stumble around and they do stupid things, and you're like, okay, come on, really? Are we? How did you? When you get transported, did you leave most of your common sense behind or something? Why are we doing these things that make no sense? He doesn't do that. It's not that he immediately understands what's going on. It's more or less that he's just like, okay, I have a general idea and I know I need to gain more information. So I'll come along, I'll do whatever needs to be done, but I'll be prodding and I'll be asking and I'll be testing so that way I can see where my limits are at, which is awesome to me. I think that's probably that to me. A lot of people dog Kirito, I think, And I think, to me, though, his character in that regards is awesome. And I don't think it gets nearly as enough credit. The story, without going too deeply into it, so again, he's now, for reasons of happenings in the real life, he's now kind of pseudo trapped inside this game that they were creating.
One thing I wanted to say,
Yeah.
out of all of the isekais that have sprung up since this series started, isn't this the only one where they bounce back and forth between real world and other world?
Typically. Yeah.
I'm wondering why nobody else has done that.
I don't know.
Or at least
I don't think they have they don't. I think what happens a lot of times is they don't have a good reason to.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you recall, though, in the first series, I mean, yeah, you saw him in the very beginning in the real world, but it wasn't until he escaped that you didn't see him in the real world again.
That is true.
And then the only time that it was then, I think what's happening is that no one can find a good story reason for that to happen, because in the second part of the first season, that was when he was in Elvengard, or the Elfin place, and then he had a reason to, because he wasn't stuck there, but he was trying to find his. Oh God, I can't remember her name. Asuna, yeah.
Yeah.
He was trying to find Asuna, but that's not because he was stuck there.
That's because she was stuck there.
She was stuck there.
Yeah.
So he was trying to rescue her.
Okay.
And they had something of a conflict to where, in the real world, to where he had to, like, there was a reason why you were out there. There was a reason why you were seeing these things. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then even Gun Gale, they did have a reason to go back into the real world.
Uh-huh.
There was drama, there was conflict, there was something that had to be done. So that made sense. The problem is, a lot of the isekais, they go to this other world, whether in a game or in a completely different world, but their main thing is that they're trying to find a way back. That's why you can't go back to the real world.
I think the only
comes to it.
Yeah, and I think if you start doing that, then it becomes like that one show about you had finished it, and it's about it started out with that girl that like either quit her job or something like that. MMO
Oh, junkie. Yeah, MMO junkie. Yeah.
Yeah, so it ends up becoming just a person who plays games, and you just travel to the world while they're in the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so I guess that would be like a different genre.
Then there's really no investment in because like when things happen in the video game world like that, if that's the case, there's no real investment. You don't care about those characters because you're like, well, they're just a video game. They're not even real characters.
Yeah, or like the only way you would have any kind of investment is their relationships outside of the game.
Exactly.
Because you're like, oh, they're playing against each other and they don't know that they work together, kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So okay.
So it's a hard trope to get into, but like I said, so I would say that's a hard trope to do right. Not a hard trope to get into. It's a hard trope. It's like time travel. Time travel is a very hard trope to do right. Not to say people haven't done it. They just haven't done it right.
Steins Gate did it right for the first part. I need to watch the second
part. Beyond that, though, getting back to Sword Art, okay, so characters. I mean, they introduced maybe 2 or 3 new characters. I'm kind of invested in them, but I think I'm still kind of a little bit off on them.
Mm-hmm. So because this is continuing into next season, I would say, who's your favorite character so far, since they're still like not done yet?
So far, I guess my favorite character would have to be Kirito.
Okay.
Just for the sole reasons of what I was saying before. Because the other main character, the guy, the blonde-haired guy,
Yu-Gi-Oh.
Eugene or
Yu-Gi-Oh.
Eugeo. There we go. And it's like I know it starts with the EU. I just couldn't remember the rest of it. Um, he kind of seems like he's only there because Kirito's kind of dragging him along, kind of thing. Like he wouldn't have made it nearly as far as they have had Kirito not been there.
Okay. He's
So
still
I
be
don't.
working on that tree.
Yeah, and I don't feel like I don't feel like his character has been nearly as fleshed out because every time something happens, he turns to Kirito first.
Mm-hmm.
There's only been one instance where he was on his own and had to deal with something right then and there. And I kind of liked it. But at the same time, I kind of feel like the way a lot of people did in Goblin Slayer, how they felt like it was kind of forced, or like the bad things that were about to happen were happening just because they wanted shock value, kind of thing. And I kind of feel the same way about this because they had something of a build up. There was reasons, but it seemed still kind of rushed. You know, they here's the thing. When they're in the game world, you're following along in the game the entire time. When they cut out to the real world, when you go back to the game world, time has always passed because time is different inside this game world. A day in there is not a day outside. A day in there can be like a year inside.
So does the game like take a blueprint of you and then you're like, okay, I'm out of the game, then it just goes into robot mode?
I think they were messing around with AI and potentially creating an artificial intelligence from groundwork up. And they were using the interactions and the thought processes and patterns of people in order to better meld that into it, kind of thing. It's kind of a little hard to explain without, because it's hard to explain because they're not really, they explain it, but in more general details, not very specific.
Okay.
So, like, I get what they're going for. And it's not a bad idea. It's not. And it's kind of something that is even kind of prevalent, I think, even to today's ideology and thought processes of, hey, artificial intelligence and stuff like that. But I don't know. I think a little more. Every time you go into the real world, you get a little bit more description, a little bit more info, a little bit more into it and everything. But those instances where that happens is kind of few and far between. I mean, I'm on episode 12, and I can think of once he got put in there, there was maybe been 4 instances throughout all the rest of those episodes that you actually go out to the real world and see things happening.
Okay.
So, I mean, combat-wise, it's pretty much the same as what it's always been. Stylized, you got the glowing swords and magic and stuff like that happening. Characters are okay, not the greatest. Like I said, Kirito, I think honestly, Kirito is probably my pick right now just because I've seen him in other series. None of the other characters I believe are as fleshed out just because of that. And unfortunately, that even though Asuna's a part of it, she has so little time on screen, I can't really get behind her, kind of thing. If they were including her more into it, I'd be like, oh, yeah, maybe she might be more of a contender of like the best character so far. But right now, there's been so little interaction with her, it's kind of hard to say that.
Okay.
Beyond that, I mean, I guess for the most part, this is kind of if you break it down to the nitty gritty, I mean, all the way down. This is probably about as good versus evil as you could possibly get, kind of thing. You know, which is why I've seen so many people reacting to this, and I've seen them being like, they root for Kirito, but that's just because he is the quote unquote hero. I don't think they really have any other opinion beyond that, just because that's the way the anime's portrayed him. He is the hero. In every situation, in every series he's been in, that's what's happened. He is the hero, Okay. So,
would you recommend this series?
yes. I think there's enough redeeming qualities in it, even though it kind of follows some tropes, and even though the characters aren't at this point fully fleshed out. I think it's just because the fact that this is a 24 episode series and we're only halfway through it. Maybe they'll get a bit better on that. But the storyline is intriguing, and the action and fight scenes, and of course Studio does it. They do nice work. So as far as the looks of it go, are great. So yeah, I could see myself recommending it.
Okay. And then, who is this for? Who would you recommend it to?
If I have to recommend it to somebody, it would be somebody who I feel like has been more hardcore into fantasy. Okay. Before with Goblin Slayer, I could say even people who weren't like hardcore into fantasy would enjoy that. With this one, I feel like you have to be more hardcore into fantasy to be able to enjoy it.
I guess even people who like MMOs, or does it not have enough MMO? Because what was that other show? Log Horizon had more MMO in it.
Yeah, Log Horizon had more MMO into it. This does not. Okay. I think they're trying more for the realism in a lot of sense. Mm-hmm. So the game mechanics, I think a lot of times are only an afterthought kind of thing. Okay. They'll bring up their little status display of like health, durability, and then like what type of, I think, weapon, like what you can wield efficiently kind of thing. But every time they do, it's like almost an afterthought kind of thing. Or I'm like, they'll bring it up and I'm like, oh yeah, no, yeah, they can do that. Okay, yeah, okay, I forgot. Oh yeah, it's not a focal point. Like with Log Horizon, every time they were doing something, it was like screen came on, weapons were going. I'm like, oh yeah, no, it's right. You're in okay, totally, gotcha. It was never a question about that. It was always like, yep, nope, there you are, right there. This one, I think they're trying for more of a realistic approach to it, just because of how the storyline is set up. So it kind of pulls you out of that a little bit.
Okay. Cool. I guess, what is your favorite part so far?
My favorite part so far has to probably deal with more towards the last episode I watched, just because it started to actually explain things. You're getting it's kind of sad. It's like, what, 12 episodes in, and it's only now that they're like, oh hey, here's your main boss. Here's the reason why all of this is happening around you. Here's why this person got kidnapped. Here's why memories are being erased. Here's why nobody has good. It's like, wow, okay, cool. Now I'm with you. I get it. I understand. Why couldn't we kind of lead into this before a little bit? You just want a data dump on me. I get it. But yeah, it's like, that's cool. And I'm now, my mind mentally, I'm like, okay, I'm there.
Yeah.
Totally get you. I'm on board.
Oh, now I get it.
Now I get it. Ah. Oh, they're evil in a really bad way. Got it. And some of the things that they're doing, the little moments, the fights, I think in that last episode were cool too. Um, and that kind of goes along the same way I think with like Goblin Slayer because Kirito was utilizing something I wouldn't have necessarily thought of as a weapon, but it makes sense in the context of what they were doing. And I'm like, oh, absolutely, good thinking, totally, you know. And it's cool in that regard. So I mean, it just I guess in general, it's that last episode just it filled in so many gaps to me mentally that I'm like, all right, yeah, I'm here, I'm now with it, but it's kind of sad that it took 12 episodes to do that. So
Cool, cool. All right. Well, yeah, I will be catching up on this probably over the next month, so we could talk about how the second core is beginning. Um, so that's all we have for this one. The next show we're going to be talking about is the time I got reincarnated as a slime.
yes, are you current on this?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Hopefully I don't confuse this one with Goblin Slayer because I'm pretty sure I am.
It has a few things in common with each other, but I think it's enough to separate them good ways. Um, so this is definitely an isekai,
Yeah.
but
And it actually fully explained where he was at the beginning, how he died,
and
then
they have it.
then they're like,
in
wait a minute. Yeah, they're like, wait, ignore Siri. This is the rest of the story.
Basically. But you know what? Even though she can be annoying sometimes, I still like Siri in there.
Yeah.
I do. It's
I'm like,
nice.
Does anybody else have Siri or is it just him? I don't use Siri.
It's nice the fact that it's explaining things that we as the watcher wouldn't know and that he doesn't know.
Yeah.
So we can skip over that bumbling, oh, I don't know how to do this or I don't know what's going on part. It's like, no, he knows. All he has to do is ask Siri, and Siri will let him know.
It's like, hey Siri, what are my options? He's like, you could use this one power. And he's like, oh, okay. Am I able to use that now? He's like, yeah, you can use it, but it'll destroy the Earth. And he's like, why did you even give me this option?
You didn't say there were stipulations. She just gave you the option. Yeah. I mean, he's okay. At first, I didn't think that I was going to like the whole naming thing after it was revealed that it gave them like power boost kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I think the more I've been watching it, the more I've been liking it. Just because it kind of diverges from that trope of the person coming to the alternate world being super powerful. Nobody can touch him. Nobody can do anything with him. Now it's like, I mean, don't be wrong. He's still powerful.
Yeah.
But there are now people around him that are also powerful in their own right.
If I would say he came across a group of people that he could basically defeat with just putting in a little bit of effort. Now that they're all named, he's gonna have a tough fight.
If that were to ever come about, which is a possibility, if somehow they were turned against him in some way, shape, or form, yeah. This would, I mean, and he even, the girl with the ogre, his secretary, Shion, he even said, remind me not to piss her off.
Yeah.
At that one point. And that's true. Shouldn't do that. Because she's pretty powerful in her own right. But I like that dynamic. I like that it diverges from your stereotypical isekai, I'm going to be super powerful, go to another world. And now it's like, yeah, you're super powerful, but now you have a bunch of other people around you who are also super powered.
Yeah. And because of that, even more powerful people are getting getting their attention.
Exactly. But yeah, so taking it by the numbers from most of this. Okay, so characters I'm enjoying. I think the characters are done very well. They have their own little quirks. They have their own motivations. Even though they do follow Rimuru, they're still they have their own agenda.
Yeah.
Which I like. And not only that, but with how many people there are around him, each one of them has their own personality too.
Yeah, they're doing really good with that because he has like 700 people around him now.
Exactly. and there's still, I mean, don't get me wrong, some of them can be a bit tropish, but at the same time, they're still different in their own respect.
Yeah. And they evolve too.
Yeah.
Like literally and
yeah, they're
personality-wise.
actually becoming better than they were, and they're learning, and you can tell.
Yeah. Especially the little rent guy. He was pretty cool.
Yeah. I agree. So character-wise, I'm on board. Really?
He's like, I like anime too.
I want to be a part of it. Let me be a part of it. I have it up here so often. So character-wise, I'm on board.
Who's your favorite?
That's hard.
It's
How
so
many there
hard.
are? I mean, don't get me wrong, Goblin Slayer was hard just because of the characters themselves. This one's hard because of characters and how many there are. Because they all have their good points.
Yeah.
You know? At this point, like, if you were to ask me that by, like, episode 6, Gopta would never have been in there.
Yeah.
But now, I'm like, shoot, Gopta's cool.
Yeah.
You know? He's not even the most powerful of the bunch. He's still cool. You know, after seeing his little fight with the lizard chieftain or whatever, or would-be chieftain, I'm like, oh, come on. Really? Get Gopta, man. And then Shion. I like Shion because, you know, even though she has her, I'm perfect and do everything great and yada, 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 she has that flaw of cooking. And I like the fact that even though it was, not necessary for the plot, I like the fact that they did that whole cooking thing. And Gopta, like, died, essentially, because of it. Even though originally, when he was first introduced, I didn't like the red-haired ogre, just because I thought he was a little bit too full of himself.
Oh, the leader?
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't really care much for him originally. Now, like when he was first introduced, I'm like, oh, come on, dude. You're too proud of yourself. You're not willing to accept help. You look down on people. But now, I kind of like him. He's just like you were saying, as a character, he's evolved.
Yeah.
He's changed. He sees things a little differently now, and I think Rimuru has something to do with that. He's definitely helped out with that.
So you know what? I think we're gonna do a like we did for that other show. Like we've done this for 2 shows now, and both of those shows have like a ton of amazing characters because I've been trying my hardest to find out which one I like the most, and because the show's not over yet, I feel like we could do that at the end of next season.
I'm not even sure I could do it at the end of the next season.
So I would say, yeah. So let's go through like the most like the characters that they've shown them the most often. So like you said, or we could do like everybody's in the picture or something. I can't remember.
Yeah, let's just do everything's picture. So
okay. So Gopta, we already talked about. Yeah, he's
Shion,
awesome. Yeah.
The red-haired dude, which by the way,
yeah. So far for me, Shion, I'm like on the fence. Like out of her clan, for me, she's the weakest. And like having that whole not being able to cook trope was funny, but it was expected. Cause like I don't know.
I don't know.
I saw the signs because she's like, I'm gonna make you lunch, and I'm like, oh god.
I mean, the fact that Rimuru calls it out as a trope.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah,
I'm
that's
like,
that's
come on, we're expecting that. We're expecting it, But honestly, to me, if I were to rank them on the ogre tribe from strongest to weakest, the leader, the ninja ogre, Shion, the princess, and honestly, the old dude is at the bottom of my list.
I'd say the old dude's like third.
He's
I don't want to put both of the girls at the bottom, but
he just seems. I want to see more of him.
Mm-hmm.
What have we seen so far of him? We saw him doing some battling. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, he was very dark and very sneaky at the beginning.
Yeah,
and now
he
he's just
came
kind of
in.
like
He cut off Rimuru's arm.
Yeah.
And that one instance, and then the only other time he did that training with Gopta, which resulted in him. That was kind of almost a trope in itself because he was like, obviously, it's like, well, you got the super powerful dude who's trying to train the weaklings.
Yeah.
That's not going to go over well. And sure enough, didn't really go over that very well. Pretty much demolished them. And then beyond that, we had that one part in the battle with him. And that's all we had.
Yeah.
We haven't really had a whole lot of character development with him, I feel like.
I kind of feel like he went in reverse because I feel like he was more capable when it was that dark, sneaky old dude. And now he's just kind of like sexy grandpa beating up little kids. And I'm like, I don't know.
And I put the princess down there as well, just because, again, with her, haven't seen a whole lot else done with her.
What were her powers at the beginning when they were fighting?
She was the magic. She was the one doing the sneaky magic, and like she's the one who put all the people to sleep.
Yeah, okay.
So she's the magic user of the bunch.
But she like what kind of magic?
Specializes. You didn't really see a whole lot.
But yeah, because I'm like, is she like the visual make you kind of go to sleep, or because she doesn't like shoot fireballs or anything like that, like
not that we've seen.
Yeah, so I'm like, that's why I have her towards the bottom is because I don't know much.
Yeah, that's why the old man and her are at the bottom of my list right now. Mm-hmm. Just because we haven't seen a whole lot from them. Mm-hmm. We haven't seen a whole lot of character from them. I want to see more, but right now they're at the bottom because I'm like, I can't really put them up towards there, I want to see the grandpa. Shion has been capable. She has done things. She's been in a lot of scenes, and she's actually had a lot of screen time and a lot more ways of developing her character. Yeah. But see, I put Shion in the middle and the princess right below that simply because we've kind of seen their dynamic between the two of them in regards to Rimuru. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, I could see that. That's kind of a thing on its own. Cool. But the old man, not a whole lot. Not a whole lot. Now the ninja dude, yeah. We've seen a lot of him we've seen a lot of his capabilities, what he can do. I mean, he's full on Naruto basically, doing the shadow clones. Yeah. And he's got the whole wire trick that he does. Yeah. Which is freaking awesome. Yeah. I'm like, holy crap. The first time he put that out with the lizard, when that one guy was mouthing off, and just about cut his head off, up until the other dude was like, can you not do that, please? Please, can you not do that? But then doing it to that orc, and I'm like, oh. Yeah.
Yeah, so when he did that to the lizard dude, I was like, he's not going to kill him, because I'm like, that would cause too much trouble for them. Somebody stop him. Somebody. And then he stopped him. I'm like, okay, good. And then he caught the ogre, and I'm like, is he gonna shred him into pieces? They stopped him before. Slice. I'm like, okay.
Not only did he shred him, so here's the thing. Here's the thing why I put him up there as well. Not only did he shred him to pieces, he called out one of the demon lords. He called out. I'm like, okay, dude, hell yeah. Hats off to you. Hats off to you. You know who the bank you know that this, even though this person in front of you is strong, would crush you in an instant, orc or whatever, but you still know who's behind it. You still know who's good, you know who the true enemy is.
Yeah.
You're not, you're not thinking, oh, I'm gonna kill this and then we're gonna be done with this. No. You know this is only the beginning. Totally with you on that. Bravo for having a brain and for having the smarts and for being capable of putting it out there. And the only reason I put the leader above that is because of his growth that I have seen. And his character and his capabilities, going from, the brutish loner, gonna handle this on my own, everyone else stand back kind of thing, to now being, his little quip, and when that lizard would-be chieftain came in, and he looks over at Rimuru and is like, "Can I kill him?" And he's like, "Absolutely." And he's just merrily walking forward. He was like, "No, I didn't mean it. And then the fact that in the battle he has Shion and the old guy with him, and he's not telling them, "Stand back, I got this." I mean, he's putting himself in the front, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, he's allowing his subordinates to also be in there and put their lives at risk too. Yeah. And he gets that. Like, he's not being selfish. He's not being, I'm the leader, I got to handle this myself. He's like, no, we're doing this. And then their little back and forth that they had when they're saying, we have to thank Rimuru for giving us this opportunity. Like, he's recognizing why they're capable of even being there in the first place. Why they're even capable of being able to do the things that they're doing, because Rimuru made this happen. Yeah. So to me, that's where my lineup stands as far as that goes.
Okay, so for the you basically said most of what I wanted to say about the ninja guy. For the redhead, when they were first fighting, wasn't he just using a sword?
Yep.
And then now he has like black fire, just like Rimuru.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering where that came from. Did that come from his evolution, or did it come from Rimuru teaching them stuff?
I don't think Rimuru teached them anything.
Okay.
I think that's purely them.
Okay. Because, I saw the same power being used by two different people. And I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, Rimuru, you're teaching people to know how to destroy you. That's not good. But if he evolved and learned that on his own, then I'm like, Rimuru, make sure you keep learning powers and eating stuff, because they're gonna overpower you one day. So, I love how the ogres have evolved. The dire wolves are kind of like just one wolf, and then
it's Ranga.
The other ones.
it's your primary focus is Ranga. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, Ranga's freaking awesome.
Yeah,
I love Ranga.
Freaking
not only for his
tornadoes now.
Yeah, not only for his power, but like when that lizard would-be chieftain came in and started insulting Rimuru, and you got that like intense anger from him on that look, but then Gupta came up and it was gone.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, yeah, you recognize that. And you're like, you know what? Here you go. If you can defeat this goblin here, then I'll listen. I'll try to listen to you. But I like, even like when because he had to have known the way he is. Ranga had to have known when Rimuru first had him come out and said, "I want you to listen to what this lizard dude has to say," and he comes up and all intimidating and everything, and being like, "I was told I have to listen to what you have to say. Speak," and I'm like, "Wow, Ranga." You really know how to just throw it in there, don't you?
It's like, if you take that into real life, it's like, Batista from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're trying to talk to some guy and he like brings out Batista. Batista's like 2 feet taller than you. And he's like, "I was told you have to, I have to listen to you." I'm like, it's so cool how they like got that level of intimidation like across.
Yeah, that dynamic between the two of them, I enjoy that as much as possible. Really, I really do. I mean, Ranga, yeah, he's got to be up there for my character wise as far as one of my favorites because oh my god. And I always enjoy when you see a character just snap.
Yeah,
that's one of my favorite things. And seeing him in that battle when he did, and he went all out, I'm like, damn, absolutely, Ranga, 10 out of 10, 11 out of 10, freaking tornado death, whatever.
So one thing also that I was kind of curious about is he was never really his full size until like that point. So whenever Rimuru like teleported into it, and like he's like, "Oh my god, I've gotten bigger." Like, it was like, I like how they didn't really show it until the end, where he's like, "Oh yeah, he told me to stay like a bit smaller, so it wouldn't scare people."
Because he did.
Yeah.
When they first did that, and when he did his tail wagging thing when they're on that cliff.
Yeah.
And he blew him away, and then he got smaller, and he was like, "Wait, you could change your size?" And he's like, "Yeah." It's like, "Well, always be that then." So absolutely, I enjoy that.
I think what other
the Goblin dude, the Lord, the King,
the gray-haired one.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't.
I think such a change.
It was such a change.
I wish he was still kind of like feeble. Like
I think the fact that was such a change. Like I get where his character is, because it was such a change from being the old frail dude to now being like Arnold, that he's constantly sitting here going, "Flex, flex." He's like, "I could do this all day. Oh yes, look at this.
I've never had muscles like this.
I've never had muscles upon muscles. Look at me." I don't think he's trying to say like, "Look at me." He's just trying to say like, "I just want to look at myself. Oh my god, look at these.
I can't help it. I can't help it. Every time I move, it's just like
bulge, bulge." I'm like, all right, dude. I feel kind of bad because honestly, if I was in your situation and that happened to me, yeah, I'd probably be the same way. I'd probably do the same thing. So I can't fault you for that. I just wish they would allow him to do more than that, I guess.
Yeah. Well, he has 700 kids to take care of, basically.
Yeah.
So I can see how he can't really go anywhere. I kind of wish there was like a second in command so we can kind of see him like
do something.
Yeah.
But I mean, even then, it's like I would like a little more development from him, other than the now turned into Arnold. I mean, that's pretty much where I'm at. So
yeah. So other than him and Gupta, like, are there any other goblins that are like doing anything?
Not really. And Gupta's doing something just because he's now been named the Wolf Rider lead chieftain or pact or something like that.
Okay.
He's now in charge of that.
Yeah.
I think they only put him
because
in charge
Rimu doesn't want to do anything.
Yeah. Well, I think they only put him in charge of that just because he was the first one to be able to summon his wolf from the
right.
shadow.
That's right.
And then he's kind of and because I think he's also now becoming more capable and being able to like do like the shadow step and stuff like that. So they're like, okay, he can do some things. Let's
I
put him
like
in
how
there.
I like how he's still not graduating from being the butt of the joke.
Yeah, even though he's become stronger, he's still basically the butt of a joke of every joke, basically. Um, honestly, the only other character I can think of that they don't have on there is the Dryad. They don't have the Dryad on there, at least not that I can see.
Dwarf guys?
The Dryad. You know the Dryad. If you're current, you should have known the Dryad. That's the one who gave Rimuru said, "Hey."
Oh, the plant lady.
Yeah, Dryad. That's what Dryads are. I
don't
will
know if I
say
can trust her.
I
Like,
will
even though
say,
she did the thing with the bad guys, I still don't like her.
okay, so but for me at least, I will say that I like the fact because when she approached Rimuru with this, oh hey, there's an Orc Lord, can you kill it for me? Kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, why don't you? Do you not have any powers? Are you one of those, oh, I'm the protector of the woods, but I'm a pacifist, I can't do anything? Or, oh, they call me the Divine Justice, but I just block evil from coming out into the woods or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's kind of what I was thinking. But then the fact that she actually had a pseudo fight and
Yeah.
actually did something, I'm like, ah, okay, I'm with you.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Character wise, I don't know much about her. I can't say whether or not I trust her or not, but I at least like the fact that because they built her up as being this you don't want to mess with her kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, is there a reason why I don't want to mess with her? Because right now, she's crying for help from Rimuru,
And eating
but
everybody's food.
and eating everyone's food. So why do I think I want to be afraid of her? Do I want to be afraid of her? And then all of a sudden she did that, pulled out that Siflid spirit and did the aerial blades. I'm like, okay, yes, there is a reason to be a little bit afraid of you.
Mm-hmm.
I can get that, which I appreciate. And then the only other character, I guess, is Rimuru's fated one that died within 2 episodes.
Ah, that made me sad. So I was like,
But,
wow, they met her real quick. Like, it was almost the next scene.
and they met her super quick because it was like only 4 or 5 episodes in
Yeah.
when that happened. So they introduced the love of his life, his fated one, within 4 episodes, and then the very next episode, there she is, and then 2 episodes after that, she's gone.
Yeah. I was like,
I'm like,
whoa.
wow, we're wait, this is 24 episodes, right? Yeah, no, this is 24 episodes. Why are we moving along at such a brisk pace here then? That
Yeah.
happened quick.
I thought,
Couldn't we have had her be along just a little bit longer than that?
yeah. Or like, you get a clue in core 1 and then like you meet her in core 2.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, God, that was quick.
Or like have her like get a clue in Core 1, like in the beginning, meet her at the end of Core 1, and then halfway through Core 2, okay, now she's dead.
Yeah.
That seems like a good pace to me.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, all right, if that's how you're gonna go,
they treated it like it was only a 1 core show.
basically. But I mean, I'm like, you know, if that's the pace you want to go on that, I'm not gonna fault you on it because you're still cool on a lot of that rest of that stuff.
Yeah.
And all the other characters are still around and they're developing. Okay. But yeah, that just came out of left field. So I can't even really give an opinion about her, honestly, because she was only there for like 2 episodes.
Yeah.
I mean, you felt a little bit sorry for her with her little bit of backstory that they gave you on why she was the way she was.
Yeah.
But then after that, you're like, and now she's gone.
Yeah, for most of the episode, I was like, he can save her. I'm like, just eat her and heal her. Like, just do like you did with the other goblins. Why are you not doing that yet? And then they like cut back to her and her hair's gray, and I'm like, oh no, oh no, this is real.
Ain't no reversing that with healing potions. Mm-mm.
Yeah. I'll say the last people that I can think of, other than the lizard people. The lizard people, let's go to the lizard people first. I think that they are a foolish race.
Comic
relief. Oh
relief.
my god.
They're comic relief. That's all they are.
Like, I only like the chief, but only a little bit. I'm like, yeah, you need to lead your people better. I don't know what is.
Oh yeah. What? You mean you don't like Gabiru? Gabiru, 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 Gabiru.
Have you seen Tenchi?
With all of his Ginyu Force poses that he does of
have you seen Tenchi?
It's been a while, but yeah.
Okay, Washu, the scientist,
Mm-hmm.
and she had the little cheerleaders that are on her shoulders. And like, Washu, you're the greatest. Washu, you're a genius.
God, yeah.
As soon as they started doing that, I was like, oh no, these guys are idiots.
Gabiru, Gabiru.
For most of the time, I did not believe that he had powers. I was like, what?
I will say this. Okay, immediately. In the beginning, Gabiru sucked. I'm like, you freaking idiot. You're just a comic relief in this situation.
What did that name even do for you?
Yeah, I'm like, you got named and all your brain cells just died or something. I don't know.
You got named and you grew hair. Nobody else has hair.
That's your power. You have hair as a lizard man. Enjoy it. But then that battle occurred.
Yeah.
Okay. I upgraded him just slightly. Just because one, he had some goblins with him. He ordered his people to encircle and protect the goblins. He ordered that. Okay. In the midst of that battle, he said, get the goblins in the center, form a circle around them. Don't let anything through. I'm like, okay, that shows me you're compassionate and considerate, and you have some sort of leadership going on here. Not great, but you have some sort of leadership going on around here. And then he called out that orc general for a one-on-one. He showed he had some power. Mm-hmm. And then when his cheerleading squad wanted to lend him a hand, he said no. Now, it could just be his pride and saying that, but I like to think, at least in some sense, that he understood that should those guys enter the battle, one, not only were they not going to do anything, but two, they were more than likely going to feed the orc general.
Yeah.
And so that would have been a fruitless endeavor.
Yeah.
And so even though he didn't think he could defeat the orc general, he still made sure that they didn't enter the battle.
Yeah, and also like the fact that he like tried his hardest to keep it a one-on-one so everybody would stop fighting for a while.
Yeah. Give his guys at least some breathing room.
Yeah.
Gain your breath back, get ready, see if you can find an opening, gain yourself time, anything. So, I mean, whether that was intentional or not, I like to think it was intentional. He might have thought that out a little bit. And in my mind, that's what I said. In the beginning, I freaking hated him.
Yeah.
In the beginning, I'm like, you're an idiot, you're comic relief, and I hope you die soon. At the latter
I
part of
hope
that,
Ranga eats you.
yeah, like I'm hope Ranga eats your ass. Yeah. Towards the end of that, I didn't wish him dead. I still think it was his idiotic decisions that got them in that situation to begin with. But at the same time, I can't necessarily say that I just absolutely despise him now.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I mean, again, the only ones we've been introduced to in a more substantial thing have been the chieftain for the Lizardmen, Gabadoo, and his sister. That's it. That's all we've been really introduced to. Everyone else has just been background.
Yeah.
They're there. They might say something important, but they're never there for more than like that one line, and that's it.
Yeah.
So.
Dwarves.
Oh yeah, the dwarves. How did I forget about those? I liked that interaction. I like that story behind what made the dwarves come with him.
Yeah.
That whole setup, the whole story, and then the Dwarven King, I liked all that.
Yeah.
The only question I have for the Dwarven King is he sent one of his guys after Rimuru left to go scout out that village and see what was going on, right?
Yeah. So
he said that. Now that was before his love interest got there and Ifrit came out, and it was before this orc army started to make its way through the forest. My question is, why have we not seen any other thing happen in regards to that? He said, keep an eye on them. He said, keep an eye on them. And I would assume these two big events that are happening currently would be of some interest to the Dwarven King.
Yeah. So I'm curious, of course, the Dwarven King is strong. Like, he just has this presence that I'm like, he can't not be strong.
Yeah.
How strong is he compared to Ifrit, and how strong is he compared to this army? I'm like, he's definitely aware of all this stuff that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Is it to the point where it's like, I'm pretty sure they can handle that, and if nothing will spill out and come after my kingdom, so I'm just going to let it play out? Or is he... Like, I'm curious, like, are they worried about this goblin army kind of thing? Like, how big is their force?
Yeah.
Like, that's something I'm really curious about. I was impressed by the king because he saw, like, through all the lies and everything that happened in the court.
Yeah.
And he just called him out. He's like, I'm disappointed. And I'm like, that's never been so hurtful in my life.
Yeah.
Like, I hear that and be like, I'm not sad, I'm disappointed. And like when he said it, I was like, ooh, that actually hurts.
Yep.
But yeah, I don't know. I'd like to know more, because as soon as he's like, send the guy after him, I'm like, oh, of course. I didn't even think of him like keeping his eye on the slime, because he's like, yeah, he made this super powerful potion. Like, we have to keep his eye on him. I'm like, oh, that's right. It's yeah.
And see, that makes you think that he's no fool.
Yeah.
I mean, he obviously has. He could recognize that Rimuru has power and will become a contender for great power in the future. So it's like, you got to keep your eye on this guy, and just so you know which way to go when whatever happens. But it just confuses me because there have been two big events now that have occurred. One with Ifrit, and now this orc army, and we have heard jack crap from him about that.
It's kind of three events, because the dragon disappeared, and everybody knows about that.
Yeah, but see, the dragon disappeared came
before they went to the
okay. That's why I said he knew something was up probably when the dragon disappeared, but he didn't
Yeah.
know who to look for. Now he has someone to actually look for, and he has somebody who's actually supposed to be looking at him.
Yeah.
So why
This
has
is
there
gonna
been
be
nothing that's come out from that?
interesting.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm just curious. He's no fool. He's no fool. He wouldn't just sit back and not do something.
Yeah.
There's got to be something else going on. So,
Okay.
but anyways, the dwarves themselves,
Yeah.
the guys that they have,
It was
I love those guys. Those guys are awesome.
it was kind of cool. It was kind of like a slightly too real kind of thing when he spent all that time making that one sword, and then like the slime grabbed it and like made copies of it, and like he kind of was taken aback, and then I thought like seeing that expression, I'm like, he's thinking that slimes like that are gonna put him out of business. And I'm also thinking like with like slightly off topic from anime, but like with real life, like automation, like being able to copy stuff like that or like produce stuff with robots, like that's something that we will have to think about in the future. So it kind of like that whole situation kind of like took me back for a second. But in this story, there's only one slime who can do stuff like that,
Yeah.
and he doesn't really have to worry about it because he was like, "Oh, okay, fine. I'll make something so good that you can't even copy it." So I like how he sees something, he's taken aback, and he's like, "All right, I'm gonna up my game."
Yeah.
So yeah,
No, he's taking it in stride, and I think he enjoys the fact that that that's a thing. Honestly, to me, I would think he would be actually pretty stoked about that because the slime can't make a copy unless an original is made.
mm-hmm.
Rimuru can't make a copy unless the original is made. So he could literally be like, "All right, let's make you a really good sword, and then we're gonna give it to all your goblins. There you go. Here's the original. Make the copies." You know, keeps him from having to like work his butt off every single time and potentially mess something up during the forging process, or you know.
Yeah.
And I think, and then in general, just seeing him out of that castle kingdom area under the mountain or whatever, I think just everything's just been going great for him since then.
Yeah, didn't he meet somebody else who was a good blacksmith?
Oh, we forgot an ogre. He was
Oh,
so unmemorable. Yeah, the other ogre. The other ogre that got evolved has been like his apprentice, I guess, in a sense,
what?
and he's been doing blacksmith with him.
I just have a shadow of his outline. What else did he do at the beginning?
Um, he was the one that in the first fight, Rimuru put him to sleep. Because remember, um, oh no, he didn't. Did he put him to sleep? I think he was the one that tried to hit Rimuru, and he put up the claw hand, armored, and broke his weapon. Yeah, because then what he did is he broke his weapon, and then he hit him hard enough to fly him backwards into a tree and knock him out.
Oh, an ogre.
Yeah.
I was thinking it was a big goblin. No. Nope. Okay.
Nope.
Yeah. He had a big hand. No, the girl has a big hammer. What does he have?
I don't remember.
Okay, yeah.
But he's like the bronze. He's just like the.
What else did he do?
He hasn't done anything. That's why I forgot about him. That's why I forgot about him. He hasn't done anything. He was in that one. Okay, so he was in 3 scenes. He was in the one scene in the battle that when they first met. He came in after Rimuru woke up after naming them.
Yeah.
And he looks just like a middle-aged man now, essentially.
Yeah.
And then the only other scene that he's appeared in was when Gabaru showed up because Rimuru went to the blacksmith because he was checking on things, making sure everyone was doing good, and he got caught in a conversation between that ogre and the dwarf as they were discussing blacksmithing techniques. until the goblin chief came in and said, "Hey, there's a lizard man out here who's wanting to talk to you.
Yeah.
And he was like, yes, perfect
Thank
time.
God.
Get me out of here.
Yeah, that's
Only
right.
other time you've seen him, though.
Oh man, he's not even in the fight.
No.
That's crazy. Okay.
He got left behind with the princess and the goblin chief.
Yeah. Okay.
So.
So this show is so like the characters have spawned like such a like this is one of the show that has like amazing characters. This is like the third, maybe fourth show out of this whole podcast that has like really, really good characters. But yeah, so would you recommend this show?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. For somebody who's not even into fantasy, this is such a good fantasy that it might interest you. Like, it might get you into the genre.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a Konosuba. It's like that.
That's why. It's just the exact same thing I said about Goblin Slayer. I mean, it's just like it's something that can get you hooked without you even realizing it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, you even said there were similarities between the two of them.
Yeah.
And since there's similar, and that shouldn't be a negative. That should be a positive. With similarities between the two of them, that shows that they're both stepping in the right direction.
Yeah, because it's like goblins, ogres, and I'm like, are they gonna have orcs later in Goblin Slayer? Like,
yeah, they didn't have orcs, but they did have an ogre.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, I'm curious.
Oh yeah, they had an ogre and then they had a beholder, which made me mad. I forgot about that. The beholder, floating eyeball. I don't think you've gotten to that part yet.
No.
It made me mad because I watched reactions of other people on YouTube for that one, and nobody knew it was a freaking beholder. I'm like, are you serious? Really? You guys are watching this, and none of you are interested in D&D enough to be able to know what the frick that monster is? I mean, they don't say it in the anime. They allude to it because they call it an evil eye, which is what the beholders are. But that's the name for it. It's beholder. I'm like, why does nobody know the name? I made a tweet about that. I was like, why does nobody know the name? Why? I must have watched. I think that was probably the one I watched the most reactions on, just because I was like, do you know the name? No. Do you know the name? No. Do you know the name? Why does nobody know the name? Freaking hell! Come on, somebody get it right. So.
That's funny. Yeah. So, who is this show for? Everybody.
Yeah.
If
honestly,
yeah. If you like action, if you like fantasy, if you like ecchi, because they do it tastefully in this show.
Yes.
This show's for everybody.
I swear, you just reminded me of Gabaru when he went to the village. He said they did tastefully, and he was like, we will protect the weak. And he was like, the weak. And he's looking at everyone's like the goblin chieftain with the big muscles that are like bulging. He's like, the weak. And he looks at the ogre's leader and everything, and how he's like really also kind of muscular, but like in a thin, muscular kind of way. Yeah. And in the weak, and he looks at Shion, and then he looks down at her big, and he's just like, wow. And I'm like, I'm like, even the lizard man's looking at that going, wow.
What was I talking about before?
What was I talking about before? Oh, yeah. Oh, man. It was awesome.
So, did it meet your expectations?
Yes, and exceeded, I would say.
I don't even know what I was expecting from this show. I was expecting
kind of
like Log Horizon kind of thing.
I was expecting more of a Konosuba.
Okay.
Vibe from it, because looking at the art style, especially when you look at that picture right there, it looks very cartoonish.
Yeah.
It looks very like, oh, this is gonna be a comedy, everyone's gonna be happy, nothing bad's going to happen, yada yada yada. And then watching the first episode, I was like, oh, come on, really? We're gonna set it up like this, where a guy's
Yeah.
meeting his friend, and then all of a sudden a random stranger stabs him and kills him, and I'm like, really? And then his whole thing about make sure you throw my computer in water and everything. I'm like, really? We're going with that trope too on that, really? So first episode, I really didn't think much of it, but after like the second or third, I'm like, okay, now we're getting into it. Now we're actually seeing where this show is going. Now we're actually seeing where it's getting its legs under it, basically. That's what I felt like.
Okay. Another thing, do you think that the slime is getting power from the dragon and the freak that's inside of him, or is that barrier just locking them off and he's just that powerful?
I think he got power from the dragon originally. Because remember, the dragon named him.
That's right.
The dragon named him. So if you consider now, and also think about it this way, if you consider when Rimuru names somebody, the small things he can do multiples of and still gave it a lot of power. It wasn't until like the big things, like when the ogres came about, that he was like, "Oh, I only can name like one before it just depletes me," kind of thing.
Yeah.
We have the dragon who named Rimuru a slime.
Who had already like
Really,
absorbed.
really small, pitiful, weak. I mean, yeah, he has that skill and he's immune to a bunch of things, but he's a slime. And the dragon, way more powerful, named him. I'm thinking a lot of that power went into the slime.
Okay.
Just because of how they explained how things work when Rimuru names, like the difference between him naming the goblins
Mm-hmm.
and then naming the ogres. Because ogres are automatically higher up on the tier
Yeah.
than goblins. You know what I
I'm curious,
mean?
does it like double their power or does it?
I think the growth of goblins is more substantial when they're
They were all
named.
just children.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The growth of goblins is more substantial
Mm-hmm.
when they're named because of they're the lower monsters in the
Yeah.
tiers than it was when the ogres were named. Though they still gained a significant amount of power, there's that difference.
Okay.
And I think because you have Dragon, who was so powerful, they had to lock him up, named a slime, which is even lower than a goblin.
Yeah.
If you're looking about
Okay.
monster levels,
Yeah,
that's why
I
I'm
see. I
thinking
see.
the jump that Rimuru had in power was because of that.
Okay.
And
Good.
he might even have all of his power yet. He might not even realize where he's at.
Okay.
So,
So, do you think he's getting any additional power from like having that like barrier inside of him?
no. I think the power that he has right now is just going to be like anything he absorbs and locks away,
Yeah.
I don't think gains him any additional power.
Okay, so it's just
Anything he absorbs straight up, that does gain him additional power. So
okay.
like
Good.
the Ifrit and the dragon,
Yeah.
they're absorbed and locked away,
Yeah. It's like a black hole. Things go in, don't come out.
basically.
Okay.
But like those monsters that he took care of, and then like the dire wolf that he did as well, those he just absorbed straight up.
Yeah.
He
Okay.
didn't lock them.
I was curious because eventually the dragon's gonna break free, or he's gonna like have enough time to analyze it, and the dragon's gonna come out.
Oh yeah,
Like.
but Rimuru is still going to be just as powerful as he is now, I feel.
Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to. Okay. Now I'm
Just
curious
because
with
he was named.
So I'm curious, is the dragon gonna be like, okay, well, I'm friends with the slime, so I'm not gonna destroy everybody, or is he gonna like turn on him? He's like, I'm still stronger than you. That's gonna be interesting.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite character? Actually, we went through them, so it's kind of hard to like pick one for now.
Yeah.
Okay. What's your favorite part that happened so far?
God.
So many good parts in this show.
There are so many good.
You know what?
parts in
Actually,
the
go to back kicking the dude in the head.
show. Just for the sheer purpose and reason of the fact that not only did we as the watcher sit here and go, what? But literally every other character, the lizard men, the goblins, the ogres that were there, everyone just went, what? That was so awesome. Shoot. Oh man. Just because of the way I am and the fact that I absolutely love when characters just snap. I have to say Ranga's when the freaking orc made him mad and he released that death storm
Yeah.
on them and just the look of him because they painted his eye wit completely red. His fur started to stand on end, and then he had like this aura of red around him. And I'm like, the minute I saw that, I'm like, oh, you done fucked up now. Y'all done fucked up now. You don't know that you fucked up, but you fucked up. Because it was such a small thing that he said of just being like, oh, you think that just because some goblins and some dogs came here that you're gonna turn the tide in this. And then Gopta was just like, what do you mean worthless? And then all of a sudden Ranga, and you're just like, oh god, Ranga. Ranga, calm down. Oh,
Nice.
yeah, that to me it was just, oh, I don't know though. That part might be, I don't know. It depends upon what this next episode does. Because this next episode is going to be with the Orc Lord.
Oh yeah.
It's going to be Rimuru and the Orc Lord facing off, and I'm just like, oh my goodness. Which is funny too, because I don't know why he's doing it, except for aesthetic looks, but he put on the mask at the end of that episode to go and face off against the Orc Lord.
Yeah.
But if you remember, that mask limits his powers.
I think it masks it.
I thought it like basically, because remember when he was facing the ogres, I mean, yeah, he was still doing some things, but when he wanted to go all out, he took the mask off.
I think before that somebody was like, they didn't trust him because he had the mask on because somebody with the mask attacked their village. But I think they're like, we know you're more powerful than that. Take the mask off.
Yeah, but they couldn't sense that. They just thought of him as more powerful. But at the same time, it wasn't until that he took the mask off that he was able to call the black lightning and the black flames.
Okay.
Then he could do that. So that's why I'm gonna go in. I mean, maybe you're giving yourself a handicap? I don't know.
Did he have something before that?
Yeah, he was. Power? No. He didn't have anything before that master's power.
I'm trying to think because he was concerned about masking his power because when he met the goblins for the first time, they're like, "Oh, you're so powerful," and he's like, "What are you talking about?" And did like, "Let me look at myself," and it was like,
yeah.
Bruh.
He literally sucked up his own aura. He realized he was leaking aura, and he pretty much just, I guess, for lack of a better word, clenched on his power just to make sure he's like, all right, nothing's. It's not. I don't think that it was effective. It was like there was still an aura that was coming out, but he minimized it.
Yeah.
So where it wasn't just like knocking people over with how powerful he was. But then when he put the mask on, in the first time in that cave, when he went back to the cave, and Siri told him that it was that he could pass for a human now, because
Yeah.
it literally, just like it was doing for her, it was keeping the freak down. So it put his power down.
Okay.
He was still able to use like little things because he did like the spider web thing on the ogre and using the armor for his arm and putting that other dude to sleep or something like that. Like he did some other things, but
Yeah,
it
just
seemed
like
like
how the girl can
until
still. I was like, just how the girl can still use fire even though
yeah,
she's wearing it. Okay.
yeah. But that's what I think. I'm like, it seemed to me like in order to wear that, it dampens it. It like brings it down.
Okay.
So I'm kind of curious, unless he's like, I'm gonna give myself a handicap, you know? It seems like having the mask on is more of a hindrance than anything else if he's trying to go all out on something.
I'm curious how smart the Demon Lord is. I'm kind of thinking maybe he's like limiting his power so he will kind of bluff, like have a bluff for the guy.
I don't know.
But I'm thinking he's the Lord, so I'm pretty sure he knows. Like the Lord can see the battlefield and be like, oh, here's all these strong people, and then this one big flame just like shrink down and walked up to me, and it's like, yeah, I know you're stronger than that. Take your so
I mean, yeah, that's pretty much what I would think. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how this next episode goes, if there's a reason behind it or not. Because, I mean, it kind of goes against his. Because he's been filled with a little bit of a doubt that he's going to be able to take care of this, basically. And the fact that putting on the mask dampens that a bit, it's like, why would you do that? I would think you would just want to hit him full power and just to be done with it, just to make sure you could do it, since you doubt the fact that you can.
mm-hmm.
So, I don't know.
Interesting. We shall see next season.
Indeed.
All right. The next show we're going to be talking about is Index Season 3.
How much of this have you watched?
First episode and then Season 1.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know how I feel about this season. I really don't. I'm 11 episodes in. I think I'm one episode back from being current right now. And so okay, let me ask you this. What in your opinion makes Index so great? Like the show itself.
I really love the characters because it's like what 5 or 8 years can pass, and then you're like, do you remember Accelerator? And I'm like, oh my god, yes. So
now when you say you enjoy the characters, I mean it's because you keep seeing like all these unique characters with like unique powers and constantly kind of thrown out there kind of thing, right?
Yeah, these characters are very, very memorable because it's like kind of how you said, because we watch so many shows now and talk about so many shows, for these characters to kind of pass the test of time and like still be in our mind from back then, I'd say that's one strong point about the show.
Yeah. I mean, I'd say that's because, and like we said, that's because they're unique.
Yeah.
I mean, how many people do we know of who can change vectors of, where things go, or, control light, energy to the extent of basically making a railgun, essentially. Yeah. I mean, things like that. But to me, in the first couple of seasons, it was always interesting because you were constantly introduced to new characters. Yeah. You were constantly seeing different powers, and how our main character, the dude who was a level 0, whose only gift is the fact that he has this hand that can nullify this crap, how he had to keep dealing with it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that to me was like the first, because this is season 3. So the first 2 seasons of Index, that's what was made it great. Yeah. You'd see Railgun, you'd see Vector, you'd see Index, you'd see the main character, granted. but there was always something different, always something going on, different powers, different usages. You're like, oh, wow, this person can teleport this person can do. You're like, holy crap, that's where I'm torn with season 3. I'm not getting that.
It's like they kind of slowed down.
Yeah.
Okay.
They slowed down. The only people they're focusing now, like before the focus was on the science city and all these people with all these powers.
Mm-hmm.
The religious aspect of it was kind of like a side note, right? It was kind of like, oh, this happens every now and then. Oh, we have a bad guy who comes in that we have to deal with, who's part of, the Catholicism religion of the church who's trying to do this, yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. Now, 11 episodes in, that has been the main focal point.
Okay.
And within, 4 or 5 episodes, we really haven't even been in the Science City.
Okay.
He's been pretty much going to Rome, England, basically where all the religion people are. And it's like, okay, but you're kind of diverging from what you were doing before.
Mm-hmm.
And it's still cool, but now the big bad guys are saints. And I know we introduced them before because we had that one lady with the freaking long ass sword who she's a saint, and we kind of had to deal with that. But now we're like throwing saints after saint after saint after saint after saint, and I'm like, oh, these guys were supposed to be like big scary bosses that don't come along very often. Why do we have so many of them? You know, that's like if you were Dracula the vampire slayer or whatever, and all of a sudden you were facing zombies before and maybe like a lord every now and then, and all of a sudden we're like, oh hey, that vampire lord that we were talking about that only comes around once every year. Yeah, here's like 20 of them. Deal with it. It's like, no, that's not how this works. You said they were rare. Why do we have so many? Why do they keep coming? So I just, yeah, I enjoy it because I don't want to skew my thoughts on this too much, because I think part of me enjoys it just because the fact that it's Index and it's another season of Index, and I'm seeing the characters I've seen before, and some of the plot points that got left open from like previous seasons, we're kind of starting to tie those up now, which is cool. But then the main focal point of where we were at, like we were saying, with the characters and the uniqueness and everything else, and I'm like, yeah, that's because that was in Science City. Now we're in England and meeting the Queen and dealing with saints after saints after saints after saints. It's not the same, You're just looking and going, it's not the same. You have the characters there, but it's not the same.
Yeah. Index, you've changed.
What happened to you, Index? You changed so much. So I don't know. I enjoy it. I still think it's good. I like the fact that we're continuing with some plot points. We're just diverging from so many different things that it's kind of, I'm torn because of it. So yeah, I mean, like I said, the biggest reveal coming from this just being the fact that now somebody else knows the fact that he lost his memories. But the fact that that was so huge, and I'm 11 episodes in, it's only mentioned twice. Once when it happened, and then once when the main character meets up with that person, and they briefly mention it, and then that's it. And I'm like, that's a huge. Every episode in the beginning, you mentioned the fact that you lost your memories.
Yes.
Every single episode. It's huge. And we're just going to overlook that? That somebody else now knows your secret? I'm like, all right, yeah, man. You know, you're looking at it just like, man, I feel so let down. What the hell? So,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, I guess we'll leave it at that for this one. And when it's over in another season, then we could go through like what we liked about all 3 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Because I guess with this big shift, this core right here kind of doesn't speak for the whole series.
Yeah, I kind of feel like it.
Yeah. So.
You know, I thought because I think it was at the end of the second season when Vector became sort of a government hitman kind of thing. I kind of thought that was going to be like a side thing, and now all of a sudden in the third season, it's like a main thing.
Okay.
And I'm like, oh, man, really? That's not where I want my focus at. That's not where we want to be. No, get away from that. So.
All right. Well, yeah, we will catch back up on this show when it ends, so we can compare it to the other 2 seasons because I'm going to be catching up on them, and yeah, we can go from there and go in because these are also really good characters.
Mm-hmm.
They're not as fresh as the ones that we've been talking about since the series, but then also Index hasn't been around when we have been talking about these shows. So
Index has been a while.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll bring up the topics during the second core. All right. So that's it for the seasonal topics. And now we're going to be going into the year, kind of like our year in review for anime. It's kind of everything that we're going through is kind of based off of what I remember from the last year and kind of like threw together real quick. So the new pilot thing that we are going to be going through. There's an event on YouTube that we do called the 12 Days of Anime. You kind of pick like 12 moments throughout the year and do a video for each, or one video talking about all 12. What I usually do is first I was doing that for the first couple years, and then now I am doing kind of like an awards show. So basically, we're gonna go through the 12 different polls that we had done, and then we'll come up with 3 for the entire year. So the first poll that we did is for because I have to load up the right one. So the best girl for winter. The one that let's see, the 5 girls that I put on the list are Ichigo from Darling in the Franxx, 02 from Darling in the Franxx. Then from Citrus, I did Yuzu Aihara. From After the Rain, I did Akira, and from Kokoku, I did Yuri. For this one, Ichigo from Darling in the Franxx one. Do you remember who you voted for? Because I think I voted for Ichigo also.
Yeah, I think I actually voted for Kokoko. Trying to remember where going through the animes for the winter season. Yeah, pretty sure I voted for Kokoko on that one.
Huh.
I'm
not sure why it didn't take.
Just because I think that her character, like overall, unfortunately, I think I kind of got a little skewed on this. Just because Darling in the Franxx, in general, didn't wow me nearly as much as Kokoko did.
Yeah.
And I think that the character from her you really, even though there was a lot of other things going around, she was more of a focal point in that one,
Hmm.
and you got to feel, more of what she was going through. And I feel like she was still, even though she had her moments of weakness, I feel like she still was a pretty strong character.
Okay. Yeah, out of all the characters in Kokoku, I think I liked her the most
Mm-hmm.
because she was kind of a character that like everybody else either had bad luck or they were just bad at life. And and um she was the only one that even though she had tons of bad luck and even though things were always going wrong, she just kept trying and kept trying. I feel like everybody else was like, oh well, things are crappy, so I'm gonna just keep it crappy, whatever.
I'm just gonna sit here and just be like, whatever.
Yeah. So um so I get that for Kokoku. Ichigo, out of all of the characters in that show, um, I feel like I don't know. Everybody went through a lot of different struggles, and out of the girls, there's the one who's like half Klaxor and half human,
02.
and yeah, 02, and I don't know. I kind of felt like bec- I don't know. It's like they kept doing tests on her and stuff like that, and
See, since I didn't really finish Darling in the Franxx, I don't know. Ichigo for me just did not seem she always seemed to be pining after Hero, and I thought that it's just like, come on. You she flip-flops so much, wanting him, not wanting him, wanting him, not wanting him, wanting not wanting him, just being caring as a friend and then wanting him more than that, and it's just like, come on now. You need to either be honest with yourself and pick a side on this, or you need to be just kind of you need to stand up more on your own, I felt like.
mm,
As a character in general, looking at that, I just didn't feel like even between her and Zero Two, I didn't feel like either one of them really stood up on their own as a strong female character, I felt like.
okay.
I mean, and that might have been just because the anime or the fact that I didn't watch all of it all the way through. Because, I mean, the anime, you had to have a partner in
Yeah.
order to, drive these mechs.
Yeah.
But, and then the fact that I only saw up to a certain point with her, and that was when they were still trying to figure out what the hell was going on, why they were there, what was happening, and all that. I mean, which I know we discussed at another point for that, but it just didn't seem like she was really eh.
Okay. Um, with Ichigo, I feel like with most things, she kind of got what she wanted. Like she's the leader of the squad. Um, everybody follows her decisions and everything. And because whenever 02 wasn't there, like she was like, "I'm the closest to Hero, and I'm gonna get him one day." And
Mm,
then as soon as 02 comes into the picture, she like kind of starts panicking and things kind of start falling apart.
mm-hmm.
And because of that, somewhat of the team falls apart. It's also to do with what 02 brings with her and how like the world is progressing towards this war. But I don't know. It's
See, that's why I was like, I don't feel like she was that strong of a female character.
yeah, I would say because I've seen the end, like how she deals with it, I like better than how 02 handles the end. So that's probably why I picked Ichigo over 02. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I don't know. Kokoku was great, but for some reason I Darling in the Franxx hooked me more.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not. I think they're both the same length. I think.
Pretty sure.
Wait, no, I think Darling in the Franxx is twice as long. So maybe because of the longer development of the story.
Yeah, because Coco was only 12 episodes.
Yeah, yeah. So I think that's what edged it out for me. But yeah.
I think I only watched 12 episodes of Darling in the Franxx, so that's probably where I was right there in the center.
Okay. Cool. The next category we did was the best guy of winter. And we have Sebas from Overlord 2. I can't read it. Oh, Goro from Darling in the Franxx. Ji-san from Kokoku. Momonga from Overlord 2. And then Hiro.
Yeah, I definitely picked Sebas in this one. Just because Sebas was so much like, I was very surprised that they fleshed out his character as much as they did.
Yeah.
I mean, they gave him almost half the series on that one run on the winter side, I want to say. I mean, and it even though that they gave him so much of that, I was not upset by that.
Yeah.
It was still interesting. It was still intriguing. And it still made a lot of sense. And it really made everything flow so much nicer from one thing to the next. I mean, and that's the reason why I didn't even pick Momonga on that one, just because honestly, they didn't give him hardly a lot of that series on that one, I want to say. But I mean, freaking Sebas was just boss all over the place with that one, you know. Taking those guys under his wing, protecting that girl. I'm like, wow, there's a lot of things going on here that Sebas normally wouldn't do.
Yeah, even protecting the girl, even though it like almost cost the mission. Because it involved like getting involved with her brought in some lots of conflict. So,
but you know what? In those situations, like I said, a lot of times I look at these situations and go, given that situation, what would I do in his shoes? And honestly, I'd have been right there.
Yep.
I'd have been right there. No, I don't think there was a single thing he did that I wouldn't have done. So that's why I was like, you know, I guess I look at female and male characters a little bit differently in a sense. And when it comes to, I guess, just because I'm a guy, seeing a man's character, I one that really just makes me go, yes, you know, just everything you do, every decision you make, every move you make, I'm like, I am behind you 110%. And that to me is where Sebas made it out of that one.
Okay. Let's see. The next poll was what was the best show of winter 2018?
Whew. My goodness.
We had Kokoku, After the Rain, Darling in the Franxx, Overlord 2, and Citrus.
I think I gave it to Kokoku just because, again, Darling in the Franxx didn't wow me as much. I didn't really finish that one. Overlord, I felt like there was a little bit of a pacing issue that I had a problem with, and it kind of dragged me out of it a couple different times when I was watching it. And I never watched Citrus, so that's kind of where I was at with that. Yeah, and honestly, looking at the series or the season right now, yeah, there really wasn't a whole lot else going on that season, was there?
The two that I finished were Darling in the Franxx and Kokoku. I don't think I finished Overlord 2 until Overlord 3 came out. And out of the two, they were both good. One of them fit more of my like tragedies kind of story. Kind of like the genre of the series that have comedy, but then they also have drama, and they also have like really, really traumatic things happen. And that was Darling in the Franxx. But because Kokoku was so unique and it had elements of
Visually
time,
was just nice.
yeah, and it had elements of time travel in it.
Mm-hmm.
Like that trumped everything. So I also voted for Kokoku.
I think it might have been on that list too, and I think we still wouldn't have won, but would have been Death March. I still liked it. I think that's not necessarily it wasn't as good as some isekais I've seen, especially after seeing Slime and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it still did a pretty good job of giving you a reason why a character going into another world actually was as powerful as he was. And I appreciated that.
Oh, that's when he was like in that game and ended up getting all those powers.
Well, yeah, but it's because when developing the game, one of his co-developers had said, "Hey, some of our playtesters are saying it's too hard when you first start off."
Yeah.
And he goes, "Well, they were complaining about it being too easy before." And he's like, "Well, you want to change it?" And he's like, you know what? This is what we do. Add in 3 Meteor Storm items for the characters to use and 2 map reveals. That way it's their choice whether or not they use it, so they can make it as difficult or as easy as they want. And then when he got teleported to that world, he ended up getting into a chasm, like a canyon basically.
Yeah.
And there was like all these, I want to say they were lizard men or maybe dragon, something like that. There was also like dragons in this valley that he was in.
Yeah.
And after he ducks for cover, he activates one of those items, but then nothing happens. So he activates all 3 of them.
Yeah.
And it was just because it was in his panic, but it was because it was a delay. Then all 3 of them hit at the same time and just decimate that entire valley. And he gains all the experience from that.
Yeah.
So then he gains all those levels, has all of this treasure. Because at one point, I think it killed a dragon or something like that as well.
Yeah.
So I thought that was, especially for that time, I thought that it was done very well.
Okay.
So I will admit there's a lot of people who have said that the ending was kind of meh, and I would agree about that. But maybe it'll get another season, and hopefully they'll continue and actually make something better of it. So.
Cool. All right, well, that's it for winter. So now we're going to head into spring. For spring, we had Best Girl, and it was Bakugo's mom from My Hero Academia 3. Special Week from Uma Musume Pretty Derby, Atsu from Boku no Hero, and Hina from Hina Matsuri, and then Ochiko from My Hero Academia 3. I voted for Bakugo's mom.
Yeah, I think I voted for Bakugo's mom too. I think I voted for that just for the giggles and everything. Just because of how hilarious Bakugo's mom was.
And it's like writing Mickey Mouse in for president and then he actually wins.
Yeah. But no, yeah, Bakugo's mom was just it had that dynamic that just made me laugh the minute it happened. Because you don't know until you actually see the conversation that they have, that they are the way they are. And then you see that conversation, you're like, oh, that's where he gets it from.
Yep.
Gotcha. And then you just feel sorry for the dad at that point.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, why did he even get into that? Why did he even get into that?
Yeah. That was probably the funniest cameo that I've seen in a long time.
And honestly, yeah, looking at the animes for that season, there really wasn't a whole lot of like.
Yeah, I was curious if you had any like, what do they call it? Special mentions.
No, I can't even think there's an anime in there that I would say that would have a good female role. The only one I could otherwise think of, I'm trying to remember if she appeared in the third season or the fourth season, was oh, the freaking, it's still on Boku no Hero Academia, but the when they went to go do the, yeah, it had to have been because that's after that, when they went to go do their test to become heroes or get their permit or whatever.
Yeah.
That one female hero that they met outside, that was apparently in charge of another class from a different school,
Oh.
and it was her power like laughter or something like that.
Yeah, the one I was poking fun at what's his name?
I love that so much.
Yeah.
I love that so much. Because she was like, marry me. And he's like, nope, not going to happen. She start cracking up. And I'm like, wow. That's awesome.
Yeah, she was a cool character.
Yeah, I liked her character. But yeah, beyond that, no, nothing else I can think of, honestly.
Okay. Let's see, best guy for spring 2018. We had Joe from Megalobox, Deku from My Hero Academia 3, Bakugo from My Hero Academia 3, Gansaku from Megalobox, Yuri from Megalobox. Basically, only 2 shonen shows where all the guys came from.
Yeah, see, no, my vote was Deku.
Okay.
I think just because when I looked at, I mean, one, I didn't really watch the Megalobox, but the other part of that being is just that in that season, there was so much growth from Deku as a character. You know, the whole getting attacked by villains and the outdoor training, the freaking fight he had with the dude who could put muscles on top of his muscles, basically, and become super strong. You know, and the fact that he went and rescued Deku as well, like that whole thing, I'm like, or he went and rescued Bakugo. Yeah, he went and rescued Bakugo. Yeah, that whole thing, I'm like, okay. As a character, he evolved so much over that time frame that I just had to give it to him.
Okay. Cool. I voted for Joe, main character from Megalobox. Megalobox was basically a boxing anime, and for me to stick through a sports anime the entire season, you have to keep throwing twists and turns, and it can't go on for 80 episodes unless you twist and turn the entire time, which usually doesn't happen. There's usually big arcs. And I don't know. He was like the underdog, and I just cheered for him the entire way. And it was just exciting. Yeah.
I will say, thinking about it, one female that should be recognized, at least as a mention, and I think maybe should have even been on the list, was Tsu from Boku no Hero Academia.
The frog girl?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, she was on there. Her full name was on there, so.
Oh, is that really? Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Tsuyu Atsu. Yeah.
Ah, gotcha.
Yeah, she had that really great, like, she had a few great moments in that series.
She did.
Yeah.
And not to sidetrack anything else too, but I think Soma from Shukugeki no Soma should also be considered for male character.
Ah, yeah. Okay.
since that was the season, or the second core of the third season came out in spring.
Okay.
So his character always evolves over time so much, and I always admire his tenacity and unwillingness to give up.
Okay.
So
Cool. So your spring season was the season of evolution.
hmm
Awesome. Um, for the best show for spring,
oof.
I nominated. Let's. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Oh no! I turned it off.
Uh-oh.
There we go. There you go. Boku no Hero Academia, Hinamatsuri, Megalobox, Sword Art Online, Gun Gale, and Uma Musume Pretty
Did you vote for Pretty Derby?
Derby.
Did you vote for Pretty Derby?
I think Ray voted for Pretty Derby.
Okay, you voted for Megalobox?
Yes.
Okay. I knew it had to be one of those two. I knew it had to be one of those two. What do you think I voted for?
My Hero Academia.
Yeah. Yeah, I was the My Hero. Honestly, had you put Shokunogeki no Soma on there, that would have been a tough one for me.
Okay.
But yeah, seeing Boku no Hero Academia, especially with that scene when they're training, I'm just like, oh, that whole arc right there was just absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
And I am not necessarily one for shonen series, but by God, that's just, yeah, it's just too much.
But by God, I have 2 nominated for the best. These are like the only 2 shonen series that I think I have you like know that you're following.
Yeah. It really, I don't really follow like a shonen series altogether.
Yeah. Oh, there's another one.
I have stopped watching Black Clover.
Okay, you did?
I'm if I have to catch up on it, I'm really far behind.
Okay.
I think they're on. What episode are they on? I'm on episode. Oh, there it is. I'm on episode 41, and they are on episode. Jeez. 64.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
What
I have
happened?
23 episodes to catch up on that thing. It just I lost interest in it.
Oh wow.
I lost interest in it.
I can't remember who told me that it was getting good. But
I mean, there are parts on it. It's like a roller coaster. Good, 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 I'm like, let's have some like steady momentum here. Come on now.
Okay.
So
Cool. All right. Now we are in the summer. We got the best.
summer.
Got the best girl of summer 2018, and we have Rine from Island, the red blood cell girl from Hataraku Saiba, Chio from Chio-chan goes to school, something like that. Chio-chan goes to school, and then Juna and Karen from Revue Starlight.
I think this was just a throwaway for me.
Did you have any other like special mentions during?
As far as female characters go, what did I watch that season?
The 2 Starlight girls they stuck in my head because I went to Anime Fest And I wasn't able to watch Starlight during the summer,
Mm-hmm.
but when in the fall when I was at the convention, I was like, let me see Starlight since I wasn't able to watch it during the summer season. And oh my god, I want to finish that show.
Honestly, no.
Okay.
I mean, there's really no female characters that really. I mean, yeah, there's really no female characters that I could say out of any of the animes I watched that season that really stuck out in my mind. None of them as that weren't like your stereotypical and just kind of just meh characters for the most part.
Okay.
So
So I chose Rine, voted for Rine, because she wasn't as bad as her mom, who tried to have her daughter date her husband. And she was more developed than some of the other side characters. And a lot of things that happened in the show were her mom's fault. So I blame her mom for being silly. And I voted for her instead because she couldn't help it.
yeah, I think I saw Island on there. I was like, that seems like one Devon's gonna probably. Yeah, maybe a big deal. Maybe a big deal vote for Island. I don't know. I think last time we talked about it, he talked about it for like almost an hour describing what's happening. Maybe the character from Island is the one he's gonna pick. I'll just pick that one.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like that show. So, for guys during the summer, we have Joe from Megalobox. No, that's not summer.
I'm like, that sounds familiar.
There we go. uh, all right, so we got Levi from Attack on Titan 3. We have Setsuna from Island. We have the White Blood Cell guy from Hataraki Saiba. And we have Diablo from Isekai. Mao, long name. And we have Isaac from Angels of Death.
This was kind of a tough one. I gave it to Levi just because I think Levi in general is just used as a strong character in general.
Yeah.
That's not to say I did not like Diablo or Isaac.
Mm-hmm.
I think both of those were actually good characters as well. I mean, I will always remember that scene that Diablo did on the bridge with freaking White Nova, man. That and then his follow up teleporting to the city, and then just royally messing up the Fallen that had gotten there. I'm like, okay, dude, bravo, bravo, freaking hell. If I had to rank them accordingly, I would say Levi first, then Diablo, then Isaac.
Okay.
The White Blood Cell was kind of a one-dimensional dude. And then the Island is just kind of a free-for-all since I didn't really watch Island. But I'm pretty sure you might have been voting for that one, if I'm not mistaken.
So, in the show Island, I actually like the female characters better than the male characters.
So you voted for Levi?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah, for some reason, like, season 3 was a very strong season for Levi. Like, you learned a lot about Levi's backstory.
See, I still need to finish watching that.
And a bunch of other people's backstory. And a lot of the enemies, like that one guy, that leader of that other squad called Levi out. So I feel like it was like, where was Aaron? He was in the 2-horse-drawn carriage thing for like half the series. Yeah, so yeah, Levi was a strong character for season 3. But yeah. Then we have the best show for summer. All right. The best shows are Island, Attack on Titan 3, Backstreet Girls, Beach just because of and Hataraki Saibo and then Starlight.
Yeah, I'm surprised Backstreet Girls got on that list. I really am. I mean, you could have put freaking Overlord 3, Katsuriki no Tenchi, Isekai Mauno. Yeah, that long name. Or even the one with the red and white blood cells.
Oh, it's on there.
Oh, is that one on there?
Yeah.
Oh, that's not on there?
Yeah, Hataraki Saibo.
Oh, that's okay. That one is on there. Okay. I didn't see that one. But either way, you had another, like, 3 other ones you could put on there. And you had to pick that one. Yeah, I think I picked Attack on Titan 3. Even though I didn't finish it.
Yeah, I picked Island, of course.
Of course.
Because that's the show that got me riled up the most.
I couldn't tell from when we actually spoke about that when we finished that season. I want to say that was probably the most you have ever spoken about an anime on one of our podcasts in I don't know how long. I think ever, honestly. I want to say ever. I didn't even watch that one. I think I haven't watched it, and yet I feel like I've watched it. That's how much yeah. How many episodes was that?
12?
Yeah, it was only 12 episodes.
It was a good 12 episodes.
12 episodes. Yep, 12 episodes. Holy crap. You spent more on 12 episodes than you've done on like 50 episodes. Animes. Oh, goodness. All right, moving to fall.
Yep. So speaking of girls, the best girl.
Oh my goodness, this is a toughie.
Yeah. So with this one, I didn't finish a lot of them until like now. So, yeah, I think for next year we're gonna space it out some. So like on our final thoughts, or either on the stream or off stream, we'll start doing the categories. So then when fall comes, I can write it in November, and I'll be like halfway through the season, so that I can get more of a fleshed out thoughts about them, and then also you can help me with it. So.
What? No.
So we have Mai Sakurajima from Bunny Girl Senpai. We have Misha Takanashi from Uzamaid. We have Onna Shinkan from Goblin Slayer. We have Suzuka from the Moto Show. And we have Yu Kato from Kimi ni Naru, Bloom Into You.
I think there should have been something in there from the slime. Just say.
Yeah. Yeah, I watched it and I'm like, yep, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it would have been like a couple characters from there.
And wait, did you?
I think what's her name may have made it, even though she's only there for like a couple episodes.
You didn't even put Index in there.
I didn't. I only saw the first episode of Index. And like, I feel like Index would be cheating because they've already been there for like they already have 2 seasons in. Yeah. So I'll be like, oh, real good. I feel like.
See, that would have made it even harder.
Yes.
I'm just saying.
Yes.
You could have put that list up there with things from Slime, Railgun, and I guarantee you, if you'd have put it on like social media with that too, Man, people would have just blown that the hell up. They'd have blown it up. But yeah, I think I voted for. Who did I vote for? I don't even remember who I voted for.
Slayer?
What was that? What was that character?
Blonde girl?
Oh, how'd you get that as her name? She's just priestess.
Shit. Yeah, shit. That's,
Oh,
that's her character's name. Yeah, because you said
no,
they don't call each other by their names.
Yeah, they.
So yeah, of course I voted for Bunny Girl. And you know what? I'm actually shocked because I voted for Bunny Girl after only seeing like the first episode, and like even if I put like those other characters on there, I think I still would have voted for her.
Yeah, I think it was priestess because it was yeah. I have a feeling if you had put Railgun
Okay.
and Railgun and Shion on there, I might have voted for Shion.
Okay.
Yeah, I probably would have. Railgun hasn't really gotten a whole lot of airtime in this season.
Yeah, she normally gets her airtime in Railgun, the series, the Railgun
Well,
series.
yeah. So I haven't really seen a whole lot of her, but that still would have been tough. That still would have been tougher.
Yeah, take out Misha and take out you and put them two in.
Mm-hmm. That'd have been hard.
Okay. And probably take out Suzuka and put in another person from. It would have been hard for me if I would have put the the scientist girl or maybe his sister. Ooh, if I would have put it, I don't know. Yeah. So like now that I finished these shows, I'm like, I could have made this really hard. But yeah, so yeah, my next up we had the guys from Fall.
Mm-hmm.
And with the guys we have Goblin Slayer, Sakata from Bunny Girl Senpai, Yu-Gi-Oh from Sword Art Online, Rimuru, which didn't get any love, and then we got Toma from Index.
This was hard. This was really, really hard. I think I ended up going with Goblin Slayer.
Okay.
But I don't know. I think I laughed when you said Rimuru on there, just because yeah, before he died, he was a guy. But now, well, even when he takes his human form, he has no privates. He has no privates when he takes his human form. So I'm like, can you really say guy?
Yeah, that's funny.
I mean,
That'd be fine. I'll put them on both lists.
yeah, that would have been hilarious. You should have done that. Like I said, Yu-Gi-Oh has kind of been like a meh character for me for the most part.
Yeah.
And Toma, I don't know.
I could not think of guys because I hadn't watched that much of the season.
Toma, yeah, but I mean, I could see him being on there for sure. But at the same time, I don't know if I would have even if Goblin Slayer wasn't on there, if I'd have picked him. Mm-hmm. Just because he's kind of seemed to kind of weak this season to me. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
So yeah, after watching some of the season, and after like going through the shows, I would have put more people from Slime.
Yeah, had you put wait, what's his? What's it? Oh, come on, give me a list of the characters. Give me a list of all the characters. What's the ninja dude?
Yeah, so
you'd have put him on there. I'd have been like, oh, man. Oh yeah, there's a list of characters. Yeah, Soy.
Oh, so yeah,
Soy.
yeah,
Oh, Soy and Benimaru.
yeah.
Mm, that'd have been tough. That'd have been tough. That'd have been tough.
Yeah. So I voted for with this current list. I voted for Goblin Slayer, but if I were to vote on this current list now, I would have put it under Redeeming It.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I don't know.
I mean,
for Bunny Girls, the guy from Bunny Girls is also really good.
this season was the toughest season.
Yeah.
Yeah, this season was the toughest season for any of that. Honestly, those last seasons, some of them I can give or take. But this season definitely was the hardest.
So,
Well, that's one.
yeah, the next show for fall is it actually take?
Yep, best shows for fall.
Goblin Slayer, Sword Art, Slime, Bunny Girl, and Index.
I think some of those for Sword Art should have gone to Slime.
Yeah. And then I would have voted for Bunny Girl.
Oh, you being the only one to do that.
But
yeah, no, I mean that between Goblin Slayer and Slime is really tough.
mm-hmm.
That one is insanely tough. Because both of them are so good. I probably, at this point, I might give it to... I think I voted for Goblin Slayer. I might have given it to Slime.
Mm-hmm.
But that's only almost just because... see, that's why I was torn. I was like, I'm almost giving it to Slime just because it's continuing. So I'm going to see more.
Yeah.
So I know that they're going to be able to actually do more with it, which makes me excited for it. Which is more excited for the fact that now Goblin Slayer is ended.
Mm-hmm.
And now I have to wait till the next season comes out.
Yeah.
So I'm like, damn it.
Mm-hmm.
So I have that disappointed feeling with Goblin Slayer and that hype feeling with Slime, but I know I can't just judge it based solely upon that.
Mm-hmm.
So, but both of them have had such good moments.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know. I can't do it. So.
Okay. So now are the bonus ones. So, best female character of the year. Who would you vote for?
Of the year?
This season's kind of cheating because it's.
I was about to say, well, let me just look at this season real quick. I can think of that right now. God.
Because I genuinely am having trouble between like characters from Island and characters from Bunny Girl.
I would have to give it to Sue.
Okay.
Yeah. I think overall she is such an underappreciated, underrated character.
Mm.
And yet she pulls everyone together so well. And just makes the whole experience that much better. I mean, she's such a strong character, I think. And people just underrate her so much. Yeah.
Mm. I wish I had watched Island and Bunny Girl at the same time. Because right now I'm in like the honeymoon stages with Bunny Girl. But like I just finished it like this morning. So I think I'm gonna vote for my Bunny Girl. Just because like there was a moment in the show where they were having their like banter back and forth, and I was just like, who wrote this girl? Because oh my god. Like just their conversations are like conversations that I don't normally like. They're quippy, they're like mature, like she's an actress, and he's like a year younger than her, and he's in high school. So like one, she's a celebrity and he's a regular guy, and then two, she's older than him, and the like just the back and forth of the conversations, I was like, oh my god, like it's just I love it.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's not perfect, so it's like whenever he gets the upper hand, I'm like, ah, like ha, gotcha, finally. So yeah, I would have to say her. So now we have best guy of the year.
Ooh boy. Oh man.
Yeah, there's what what's his name from Overlord 1? Then there's Levi, there's Baka, Deku. Then from this season we got like half of the ogres. We got the slime.
I am
Overlord.
I am honestly torn between Deku and Rimuru.
Okay.
Honestly, between those two, that's where I'm split. Because I mean, Deku showed so much evolution in his character, growing so much, maturing, really fitting the role and character that he is of being a hero, and embodying his dream of being a hero. Yeah, I guess I'm gonna have to give it to Deku because Rimuru, I enjoy and I think he's a lot of fun, but I don't think as far as the character goes. But see, that might just be cheating, just because we've seen so much of Deku, and he's had so much time to expand as a character, was compared to Rimuru, who we've only seen for 12 episodes. So I don't know. I'm torn. I think those two, honestly, to me, have evolved as a character to so much to that point. Well, Deku has. Rimuru, I mean, is just becoming. I give it to Rimuru in that regards just because, as an isekai, it's done very well.
Yeah.
And that, as we have seen from countless other ones, is hard to do. And you have a character who's fun-loving, enjoyable, and just kind of goes with the flow, but is also, wanting to make the world a better place. You can't fault for that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where I'm at with that.
I was hoping that I'd be able to come up with them. They're all so good. I'm just gonna say the guy from Bunny Girl because
All your answers are going to be Bunny Girl.
I was thinking about throwing a curve in there and being like All Might. I'm like, how do you deal with being the strongest villain and losing it all? Like strongest hero and like losing, like and passing on the torch. Like,
no, that was a very emotional scene. I feel like that whole thing.
yeah,
And especially when he had that scene where he pointed at the camera and said, "You're next." Basically, he's telling Deku that, I'm passing it along to you, kind of thing. And everyone thought he was talking about the villains and like, oh, I'm gonna take down everyone. No, he's literally saying, I'm passing this to you now. This is now your responsibility.
yeah.
And and then when he went to the Deku's mom and like got down on his knees and was like head to the floor, telling her, please give me this opportunity to teach your son how to use the powers that he has and become the hero that he can be.
Yeah.
I mean, the amount of just being as powerful as he was and then becoming so humble, it's just outstanding.
Yeah.
As a character, yeah. No, I could definitely agree with that too.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm stuck between them two. um. Yeah. I'm just gonna say the guy from Bunny Girl because I love that show so
Oh my goodness. I'm
much.
totally not surprised even a little bit. Not even a little bit.
All right. And the best show of
Bunny Girl?
2018. Hmm?
Bunny Girl?
It's up there, but I mean, we got Megalobox. Attack on Titan was kind of a dud. We got My Hero Academia 3.
Yeah. Boku no Hero Academia.
I know, and uh,
Boku no Hero Academia, Slime, Goblin Slayer.
yeah, Slimed.
Oh, Slime, man. Uh,
Island.
Island too.
My top three are Bunny Girl, Island, and My Hero Academia 3. And
Well, if you order them that way, we know which one was the top. So obviously, Bunny Girl hits your top list.
yeah, it's probably just Bunny Girl, My Hero, and then Island. Because I like.
I am gonna have to say My Hero from mine. It's gotta be My Hero. My Hero. If we're doing top three now, good lord.
What if One Punch Man made it out this year?
Oh God. Oh, don't even say it. Well, yeah, it's already done the deal anyways, but still. I don't know. You seen the trailer for it yet?
Yes.
It changed the way it looks a little.
Yeah, it's a different studio.
I know.
I knew that was gonna happen. As soon as they're like,
I like that.
as soon as they're like, Madhouse is doing a second season, I'm like, no, they're not. I'm like, why did they not do? Because they did 3 seasons of Overlord. That's breaking their no second season rule.
Yeah. But they did it horrible.
It's like, that's why we don't do 3 seasons of the same show.
Yeah. My Hero, Goblin Slayer, and Slime.
Okay.
Ooh, wait. No. My Hero, Shokunogeki no Soma, and Slime. Goblin Slayer would be fourth.
Okay.
So, that's where I'm at.
Okay. And as you can probably tell, you already know the answer to this. But what was the best season of 2018?
Fall.
Spring.
Yeah. Hey, when did Bunny Girl come out? That's probably the best season right there.
Yeah. Fall hands down.
Yeah. I don't know what it was about this season, but yeah, fall definitely was just absolutely the best. And I think that came totally out of left field too.
Yeah.
There were like big blockbusters that happened throughout the year, but it wasn't until these ones that came out for this year. I mean, because Goblin Slayer was a dark horse.
Mm-hmm.
Slime was a dark horse.
Yeah.
You know, Bunny Girl for you as Dark Horse.
Yeah, it's up against Index 3 and Sword Art 3.
Yeah.
Like,
which are still on their own good seasons. Good.
yeah.
So honestly, yeah, this season was the best season above all. Hi.
Whew. But yeah. It has been a good year.
Indeed it has.
Yeah. I'm gonna think to make this kind of award show more of a fleshed out thing. I'll start making milestones so we, because there's a lot of stuff like I started thinking about winter and I'm like, ooh, what happened in the winter?
Mm-hmm.
It's almost a year ago now. So yeah, we're gonna flesh out this last little part. Yeah, I really
Maybe I can actually give you some recommendations next time, and
Oh,
that
yeah.
way actually add in some of these like slime and stuff like that.
Yeah, so I think I know because there's a lot that I missed, especially what was it, summer or fall?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Fall.
yeah. So yeah, I think next year we'll do a vote for like 6 instead of 5. So it's like I could do my top 3 and you could do your top 3, and if they overlap, then we'll figure it out. But yeah. So that's it for today's show. We'll be back in how long? Because it's first impressions, right?
Mm-hmm. On the 27th.
Yep. So a full 4 weeks. Wait, no, 5 weeks?
No, it's 4.
Weeks. Okay. Yeah, full 4 weeks from now, we'll be back with our first impressions of this winter season of 2018. Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff. Let's see. This show's getting a makeover, so don't know when I'll release it yet, but that's a plan for the show as far as like the look. Other channels, there's other stuff going on the other channels, so you can expect stuff from there. And yeah, this has been a great 2018. Thank you everybody for watching. Thanks for hanging out in chat. Thanks for supporting the channel in any way that you do. And as always, this is Big D and Shade from TacoYaki Anime. And we will see y'all next time. Bye!